saying these statements from Mr. Kressbeckler last week may have incited the
Kressbeckler's show is billed as an opinion and entertainment program.
Yes,
and
it
he
is.
even calls himself nothing but a caterwauling old badger. So
Right.
the claim that he would incite people to violence seems pretty far-fetched.
He displayed a map of Congressman Cummings' home in relation to the nearest briar patch, told his viewers where to purchase a, quote, good pulling horse, and used a life-size dummy of Congressman Cummings to demonstrate effective knot tying techniques.
Right. I think most reasonable people would see that as simply a ribald political satire.
Right.
Briar patch is obviously a metaphor for the prickly political atmosphere in Washington, and drag from a horse means something else.
Makes sense to me.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live.
And we're back. Damn it, Richie. Why don't you get that camera set up before we start?
Such a Bush League operation around here.
Jeez, man. Nikki at the last minute. She didn't even get to dry her hair. She's just flipping it back, putting her headphones on. I'm like, are you ready? She's like, no.
The music's about to stop.
The music is on already. It's time for the show.
I'll just leave.
What show?
I'm just kidding.
Stop saying that. Just stop
I'm just
it.
kidding. I'm here.
Just stop it.
I'm ready.
We will have the producer duct tape
she's
you
at
to
least
the
here.
chair if necessary.
All right.
Let the record show that she voluntarily agreed to the duct
She
tape
consented.
to the chair.
She absolutely consented.
Sure did.
603-283-6160. What's the name of the show?
Free Talk Live.
What do we do here?
We talk about freedom and peace.
She was about to give out the phone number because that's the protocol.
Yeah, that's what my brain was going to do, but
I threw
You have her trained.
I threw her a little wrench in the old plan there, in the regular stuff. Captain's log, stardate 01292023. In the studio tonight it is
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
And I am the Lord Reverend Dr. Captain Kickass Buckshot Esquire, if you will.
If you will.
Authentic.
And I will be your host. The authentic. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that word. Man, keep reminding me, and in 13 or 14 more times, I'll finally get it. Because that's how I roll. Not EYE roll, but I, as in the letter I, as in the number one uno. Yeah, anyway. You guys are looking at me like, are we going to get the show started?
I'm just wondering how many more languages you know the number one in.
Uno, ein,
Un.
That's probably about it.
All right.
Yeah.
Multilingual, Captain.
Yeah.
The authentic multilingual.
Barely.
Doctor. Reverend. Priest.
We have a whole bunch of
And then
stuff
it's Reverend covers priest.
to get through. So
I bet you could be a priest if you wanted to.
A Judas priest.
Yeah, there you go.
I am a reverend, so, whatever that entitles me to.
We're not sure still.
Yeah, folks have asked me to perform weddings. I'm like, yeah, I don't do that. Like, why not? You're a reverend.
That's the whole point.
I know, but it's like one of the things that I don't want to do as a reverend.
Part,
yeah. Plus, I don't want to be responsible. Like 50% of marriages end in divorce anyway, so I don't want to be responsible.
Why would you take responsibility for that?
You married him.
So?
Yeah.
You cursed her.
I'm only going to marry you. I'm not going to divorce you. You got to go to somebody else for that. Go to the priest down the street.
The worst thing than having a really good streak of marrying people is having a really bad streak of marrying people.
But do priests divorce people, though?
No,
I'm
that's
pretty
always
sure you just go to
judges.
the courthouse.
Yeah, it's judges that divorce, right? Yeah.
So
what are you worried about?
In the clear.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Don't worry
technically,
about it.
couples divorce themselves.
Okay. Is that a marketable opportunity? If you, as a reverend,
A marketunity?
Sure.
We've just made a new portmanteau. Marketable opportunity becomes a marketunity.
I'll do your.
I'll perform the divorce.
Yeah, the divorce ceremony.
Oh,
No
yeah,
one
I
else
only
does
perform
that.
divorces. That's
Right.
That's going to be my comeback now whenever somebody asks me to, hey, you're a reverend, right? Yes. Will you do our wedding? No.
But I will
only
do the divorce.
Divorces. Yeah, I will do the divorce.
All right, we'll let you know later.
Have you guys ever, so this sounds like, do you remember this old show? They made a reboot of it too, 21 Jump Street.
Oh, yeah. The new movies are hilarious, too.
And then I'm trying to remember the movie where it was like Steve Buscemi. And it's like a meme now where he has like the skateboard. He's like, "Hello, fellow high school aged people," right?
Isn't that-
But he's not
Yeah.
obviously a high school age, but he's pretending to
I
be.
thought that was Half Baked, but that's a
No,
completely different movie,
no.
isn't it?
But at any rate, this comes to us from dnyuz.com, whatever that is.
Whatever.
Woman, aged 29, enrolled in high school and pretended to be a teenager.
Yeah, that's definitely a movie.
Yeah.
They've made
Yeah.
several movies about that.
Yeah.
Well, with Jump Street, though, it was super young cops,
Right.
who would then pretend to be high school
yeah.
students to get in and bust like kids, I don't know, selling dope to each other or
Yeah.
something.
Well, that's terrible.
The
horror.
recent,
Yeah.
the reboot movies were funny, especially like the second one because they go like it's the same case as last time,
So,
and that was part of the inside joke of the second movie.
speaking of cops, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the New Hampshire State Police posted on Facebook of this drug bust, this mega drug bust they did, and it was just some weed.
Wow.
And they were like posting on Facebook, like, look at us.
Recently?
Yeah, this was
Because
like a few
marijuana
days
is
ago.
decriminalized here.
Not in. Well, they still. It was a substantial amount.
So probably,
You could
was
tell-
it pounds?
Well, yes, and you could. It was a bunch
Kilos.
of different strains. You could tell they were selling it, but they just
The
like
cops were selling it?
now they are. But you could tell
Probably
they like
smoking it.
stole it from some kids, and their small business destroyed now.
They're probably
It was-
only showing you like 1/4 of what they
Well,
actually got,
And
and then they're
honestly-
going to keep the other like 2/3 or
Right.
3/4.
From what I saw on the post, it was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Good.
it was like you guys. So you guys are just harassing some kids and just
Yeah.
stole their weed.
and that's all.
That's when you
it's
got
ever
to turn
been.
the community on them, right? Like everyone make fun of these
And
guys.
no, literally, if you look at the Facebook post, every single no one was like, "Oh, you're keeping your community safe." Every single comment on the post was
Yeah.
like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, go find some actual crime with like victims.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's embarrassing.
yeah, it is. No, I had not seen that, but I'm not surprised.
It's pretty funny.
I'm not surprised. And that's kind of like everybody celebrated when marijuana was, they call it decriminalized. That's the wrong word because it's not decriminalized. They just made it the lowest prosecuted,
Yeah,
the lowest offense that they're going to prosecute. So if somebody does happen to get busted for some weed, it's just going to the bottom of the pile, likely won't even ever see the light of day as a case. So, yeah. And so then, of course, that makes the cops just supposedly not bust people for that kind of thing, but apparently not.
Wonder what the original stop was for.
probably like speeding, or they ran a stop
And
sign.
it still
or
is
something
illegal at the
dumb.
federal level. So
Yeah.
even in the states where it's legalized, like Washington State, Colorado, those are the popular ones.
Right.
If the feds wanted to, they could come into any of those pot
Mm-hmm.
shops, raid them, Crypto 6 style, whatever they wanted to
Yeah.
do.
And they did in California when California went first.
Yeah.
That was a big deal.
So yeah.
Then you knew the California staties were, friends with the feds, right? Because
Absolutely.
they should have stepped in and enforced California law and arrested
Well,
the feds,
I
and
mean,
they didn't.
Even with my nursing license, all of the places I could work in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, wherever, we have to pass, we can't fail for marijuana and the urine drug screen because it's not federally legal. So,
right. So if you were a 29-year-old, wait, Nikki, how old are you?
25.
Would you even at 25 have the desire to pretend to be a teenager to go back to high school?
Okay, listen. I left high school the absolute second I could. I did not stay a second longer than I had to.
Did you graduate?
Yeah, technically,
Okay,
yeah.
well,
I went to
I
I
left
went
sooner
to
than
college
you.
and took. I have a high school diploma.
Technically, I graduated.
If you want to know, I have a high school diploma.
No, I got a GED, so whatever. But I left after, I didn't even finish freshman year. I was like, see ya.
You got me beat.
I'm out. Yeah, I left at 16.
No, I left at 16, but I think I was a sophomore at that point. But they were like, hey, you can do this dual enrollment program. You don't have to go to high school. You take college courses. And
That's cool.
yeah, it wasn't any harder.
Yeah.
It was just better.
Better than regular ass high school. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, this lady apparently, according to this article, 4 days, a 29-year-old woman pretended to be a student at a New Jersey public high school.
4 days.
That sounds long.
Before they caught on, probably, right? They're like, this student seems awfully mature for her age.
They're like, why does she have boobs?
I've been to high school. High school girls have boobs.
I went to an all-boys school. Some of them had boobs.
Some of them had boobs. She attended classes, spent time in the guidance office, and collected phone numbers from teenagers who helped her find her way through the maze of hallways, according to students and a school official.
The students were so nice to her. Like, oh, come on. Be friends with us.
She can buy beer for us.
I don't think they knew that she was 29.
Yeah. I don't know. She continued to text former classmates days after the ruse was discovered last week, students said. The woman, identified by police as Hye-young Shin, was arrested on Tuesday and charged with providing documents that falsified her age to officials at New Brunswick Public Schools.
Well, that's why she was able to get away with it.
Why?
Because Asians age so much slower than the rest of us.
They do. It's true.
They're like, look at her perfect complexion.
The incident, first reported by New Brunswick Today, never heard of that, has raised concerns about the safety protocols in place to verify student identities and the woman's reason for sneaking into a school that enrolls children as young as 15.
Children
in the first place.
As young as 15. That's an adult.
Aubrey A. Johnson, the school superintendent, told board members Tuesday that the district would be evaluating how to better look for fake documentation and other things, according to a video of the meeting shared on Twitter.
Wait, I thought she was a cop.
No. We were just talking about 21 Jump Street.
Yeah, but
this lady
so
was
why
not a
did
cop.
she do this?
Well, they haven't said that yet. Neither school nor police officials offered any information about a possible motive for her behavior.
So she's just a weirdo?
I mean,
that's what it sounds like.
Or a child predator, right? Because she was like texting
that's a
the
weirdo,
students.
is it not?
Well, obviously.
Okay. I think it's worse than a weirdo.
Yeah,
it's a category of weirdo. It's not just your normal average everyday weirdo.
It's a category.
We've expanded on the weirdo-ness with the potential for child predator. This does beg the question, though: how many people have done this and been successful?
Who would want to?
Well, obviously, there's a reason. Right? Now, let's say that reason is something like child trafficking.
I mean, but that's the only thing I can think of. Because high school
let's just say
terrible.
it is. How many times has this been done to no one's knowledge? Right? Where she transferred out. You know, she was only here for a few weeks. Like when I was in school, we had students that came in and like a couple months later were gone or whatever. You know, that totally happened, like frequently, even.
Yeah.
Did they look a little mature for their age?
Mature. I had one teacher who pronounced it mature.
Manure.
And I'm like, you mean mature? She's like, yes, very mature. Yeah.
So pretentious.
Like, all right, lady.
Yeah. At any rate, Ms. Shin
probably pronounces the T in often too.
Often.
Terrible.
Ms. Shin of New Brunswick, New Jersey, provided a false birth certificate to school officials, a third-degree crime, according to a spokesman for the city's police department.
What made it false?
Third degree.
Well, the date of birth, obviously.
Okay. Well, okay, so here's the thing. Like, I don't know how much of this I want to share, but I have a family member, right, who was adopted by a married parent, and they went back and edited the birth certificate to put a name on it that wasn't there when she was born.
Yeah, it's probably not allowed.
Like what, with like whiteout and
No, they went down to the city office and edited the birth certificate.
Oh, well, yeah, they can do that.
So that's legal?
Yeah.
But it's not, okay, it's legal, but if that's all it takes, right, they just make stuff up 20 years after the fact.
Hey, I want to be 5 years younger. How about you? I'll give you $50. Put that on my birth certificate. I mean, why not?
I just think it's not an amendment to the birth certificate, right? They doctored they changed the original document.
Yeah.
So if they can do that,
hey, I want to be a high schooler now.
Yeah, why not?
Change the date, $50. That's it.
Schools in New Jersey are required to provisionally enroll all children in school, even if the absence of records typically provided to verify identity or prove they live in the community. From that point, students have 30 days to provide additional proof of identity, or the district has the option to declare them ineligible to attend class.
That's a long time.
Once our staff determined it was dealing with fraudulent information, they immediately notified the appropriate authorities. It says authorities. I just got a little Cartman in there for some reason. Ms. Shin has been barred from entering school grounds, and students have been advised to end all contact with her.
Until she changes her name again, shows up with more falsified documents in a different school district.
So did anything happen? Or did she just show up and then leave?
Luckily, they were on the case and prevented something tragic from happening.
She's obviously made no comment. There's just some comments here from some of the students. They said Miss Shin had requested to meet at least some of them at a location outside of school. One teenage girl who identified herself as Tatiana said that the night before the woman's arrest, she got a text from Miss Shin's lifting her feeling frightened for her safety.
See?
All I wanted to do was make her feel comfortable in a new school, she said. If she has the ability to falsify documents, enter a public high school, have close contact with young students, she added, she has the ability to do anything.
Well, not anything. I mean, it's a very narrow scope.
About to do anything.
Can you eat your own head? Well, then you don't have the ability to do everything. Calls to a New Brunswick resident with the same name as the 29-year-old were not returned. Neither the
They were
mayor,
harassing someone.
near the
They
mayor.
looked up the name and just went, oh, this must be the same person.
Yeah, so, well, there you go. So, yeah. Hey,
Speaking of making comments, before you go on, speaking of making comments, do you guys cover like the Paul Pelosi attacker thing?
no.
Okay.
Are you talking about the guy in the underwear with the hammer or whatever?
Right.
Like he answered the door.
Right.
Like, with this guy.
But he released a statement that basically apologized, like, I'm sorry, I should have done more. Like, I wish I'd gotten more of them. I'm like, oh, all right. A new wrinkle in that case. Just thought I'd mention it.
Oh, let's go to the phones.
Okay,
We've
let's
got Jerome calling from South Carolina. Jerome, you are on Free Talk Live.
Hey, I didn't mean to call you again, but I saw I was doing some.
Yes, you did, and it's fine. You can call every day if
on
you
my
like.
phone. No, I can't do that. I got a life. But this
I don't believe
story
you.
Out of 10.
Did you
know,
butt
you're
dial
the
us?
funny
Is that
one.
what you're saying? You butt dial us?
He's like, well, now that I'm on the phone, I might as well.
Might as
say
well have a
something.
conversation
Yeah.
and be
We're
on
on speed
national
dial, man. It doesn't
radio.
even need to be butt dial.
Yeah.
See, you
Just gonna
see,
hold down
you're
the
funny
one.
See, I like you because you got a weird sense of humor like me. See, you make me chuckle sometimes.
Do you hear that,
But,
Richie Rich? You make him chuckle.
Yay.
Yeah, he does too, but a different kind of way.
He gets the feeling in the loins.
Little tingle
Nah,
in
I
the
was
jingle?
Not necessarily so, but anyway.
Not necessarily.
I was doing the loin part is the part that's kind of weird, kind of, you know. Speaking of weird,
Look, I know I'm everyone's type, so let's just move on with that.
whatever, sounds like a personal problem to me. Anyway,
Uh-huh.
anyhow, did you see this story out of Laverne, Tennessee? This police department is Lavergne. I think that's how they spelled it. It's a police department where there was like orgies and swapping and
Oh, you're
Sounds
talking
like
all
about
kind of.
the chick who's been brutally memed
Oh,
because
yeah.
And
she
none
was-
of the guys have.
right, because she was banging everybody in the police station, and then there's more to that story, but that's the only part that I remember.
It's the only part that
And
matters.
she's,
It just reminded me of like Super Troopers and Ursula.
and she's married, and her husband is still with her.
Your husband's like, it's okay, I still love her.
Fool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, and they think they have something going on Good Morning America. That's
I don't think he wants to give
police
up those sweet
department,
state
man.
bennies if he like breaks up with her.
Right?
She's getting cop benefits for life and retirement.
I mean, like drinking and tops falling off and jacuzzis and all kind of crazy wild stuff.
Oh
And
no.
I'm thinking,
Well, that's
He
just
just
like
wants
I
the
didn't
health
hear about-
insurance.
that's just like a Saturday night for a rock and roll person, man. Yeah.
I'm so glad you didn't say radio host. I'm like, I missed everything.
hey, well, how come I didn't hear about this story from the media? Because I sure didn't hear about
I don't know
it.
how you missed it.
Yeah,
I heard
mean,
it from Facebook.
I'm actually kind of
Oh,
tired
yeah?
of hearing about it. Really, I'm surprised you brought it up because it's actually it's more than 5 minutes old. Which normally, if we're covering current events, that's beyond the human scope of attention span. If anything's more than a week old, you're like, oh, that's old.
He just doesn't want to talk about
Hey.
the police brutality case that's coming up.
Well,
we
if
talked
you
about
were
that last night.
if you were tired hearing of it, your tide probably came from a different reason. But that's neither here nor there. Sexually speaking. Anyway, but that,
I feel like that was supposed to be a joke, but Jerome,
Yeah.
you got to work on that
yeah,
delivery,
kind
bro.
of. I'm sorry. I'm not a professional.
We know you're sorry. Now
But anyway.
apologize.
That was a weird.
You can tell he's never been to an
Man.
orgy.
No.
He absolutely has.
not even close to one. Hey, I went to a
See?
strip club one time, but I never went back because there were just some things in that place, to kind of turn
Did
me
you
off.
make a lot of money while you were there stripping?
No.
Amateur night.
Funny. Not with my body.
You know, Jerome, a lot of folks get started later in life. It's not unheard of for somebody of your age to begin hosting orgies.
I don't think so.
No orgies for Jerome.
He doesn't want you to blow his cover. Come on.
No.
Is that a euphemism?
Hey, my life is boring, man. I don't live that kind of life. Never have, never will.
Yeah, it would.
You don't know what you're missing.
It would certainly cut into your time watching CNN all the time, right?
No, I like watching Fox because I'm a big Sean Hannity fan. I was wondering about him.
So you're a Republican?
No.
You're a big Trumper?
Like looking at. No.
You're a Trumpanzee?
That's embarrassing.
No, I was just wondering how is it like he's doing one of the reporters there, and the guy from Good Morning America, they fired him and his girlfriend, his TV girlfriend. I was just wondering about that. How is that possible?
I mean, at work, sexual relationships are unfortunately pretty common.
This woman.
Or fortunately.
Well, depending on.
I guess he can't talk about Bill Clinton anymore, huh? He was all self-righteous, talking about Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. Now look what he's doing.
Maybe he just took a page out of his book, man. I mean, I learned it from watching you, right?
Bill.
Yeah,
I learned it from watching you, Mr. President.
That's where, I think all these...
that's why I bombed Syria again.
These, what do you call them? AKA the supposed or the alleged mass shooters, right? Whenever somebody shoots more than, a couple of people, they call it a mass shooting. And everybody else asks, where do they learn this behavior from? Well, take a look at what the U.S. government does and how they go about getting everything that they have and doing all the things that they do, and you quickly realize that they learned it from watching them.
Well, hey, I just wanted to say I'm sorry I was late with the police sex party story to you, but that's the story of my life.
The police sex party is the story of your life.
No. Being late to learn about certain things is the story of my life.
Yeah, you don't want to be late to the orgy.
Definitely.
It's already over.
You've heard of sloppy seconds? Well, it gets even worse.
I don't know anything about that.
Me doth thinks he protests too much.
Doth you?
Doth.
Yes. Hey, Jerome, thanks for the call. Have a good night. 603-283-6160. I love when Jerome calls.
Jerome's great.
Well, sometimes. Yeah.
I mean, he's off his rocker politically, but outside of that, he's a fun dude.
All right.
He should certainly think about exploring the ideas of the non-aggression principle and some other freedom philosophy. I think would do him some good. And explore his sexuality, too. Want that life? Give them a free plug.
I mean, I don't really care about that.
Okay.
But...
Can you imagine him calling back and be like,
all
right,
I took your advice.
You'll never guess what I did last weekend, on Tuesday or whatever, right? Yeah.
I mean, that would be an exciting call.
You think Jerome's got $1 million? I
don't know.
He might.
He would need $1 million to get 2 chicks at the same time.
603-283-6160. We've got more calls coming up. Plus, I do want to talk about laser-guided lightning. That's right. Laser-guided lightning. Still to come. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Calls for police reform are mounting in the United States after the tragic death of Tyree Nichols. The 29-year-old black motorist died after a routine traffic stop involving 5 Memphis police officers, which turned violent. Memphis police said the unit they were a part of has now been disbanded. Chris Jones reports from Memphis.
They were part of a squad called Scorpion, which stands for Street Crimes Operation to Restore Peace in Our Neighborhoods. But the entire team has now been disbanded permanently, which is something Tyree Nichols' mother had been calling for since the incident in early January. Memphis Police Department has released a statement which said that the act of these 5 police officers has brought dishonour to the others in the squad, who all agreed that disbanding the unit was the right thing to do.
British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has sacked Nadhim Zahawi, the chairman of his own party, the Conservative Party. This follows an investigation into Mr Zahawi's taxes. Our UK correspondent Ollie Barrett has the details.
Rishi Sunak had asked his independent ethics advisor to investigate Nadhim Zahawi's tax affairs, and the ethics advisor has essentially found that Nadhim Zahawi was not open enough about some of the details about his tax affairs, the investigation into them, and the penalty at one point that he paid to the UK's tax authorities over his taxes. The Prime Minister paying tribute to Nadhim Zahawi's time in government, but also saying that it was clear that there had been serious breaches of the ministerial code. Nadhim Zahawi himself will head to the backbenches, and Rishi Sunak will hope that he can rely on his support.
A reported grim prediction of a conflict between the United States and China over Taiwan is now being backed by a top Republican in the US House of Representatives.
I hope he's wrong as well. I think he's right, though.
That was the new chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Michael McCall, speaking to Fox News Sunday about the views of Air Force General Mike Minahan, who in a memo to his senior officials expressed the view that the US could be at war with China in 2 years' time. The memo, dated February the 1st, was first seen last week by NBC News, and in it General Minahan says, "I hope I'm wrong. My gut tells me we will fight in 2025. He cites both Taiwan and the US presidential elections in 2024 as potential cues, the former as a motivation for Chinese action and the latter a domestic distraction for America. A US defense official has said these reported comments are not representative of the Pentagon's views, but they precede US Secretary of State Antony Blinken's trip to China, which comes as both superpowers are attempting to dial down mutual tensions over a range of issues from trade to Taiwan. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
I haven't unmuted Richie Rich yet. I've canceled him temporarily. Okay, let's try now.
On mute.
Bush League. I will say it loud
Bruce
so you
Lee,
hear it on
what?
everybody on the microphone. Bruce Lee. What
Bruce
are you
Lee?
talking about? If you missed it during the break, I'm sorry.
Well, everybody did except us. We're the only ones who are inside on that joke.
Well,
So, but that's okay. We have callers to get to, and let's do just that. Let's first go to. Is it Sad Slave? No. Is it Rad Slave? No, it's Bad Slave. Calling from New Hampshire.
Thanks for finally getting that right there.
It's only taken me like 3 years.
Yeah, well.
What makes someone a bad
anyway,
slave?
Wait. Are you a father? You could be Dad Slave.
Well, I am a father. And
If you
a grandfather.
if you start trends, you could be Fad Slave.
As a matter of fact, both of my children were born at home with a midwife. Actually, the midwife didn't show. It was a doctor, an MD candidate that was in schools that came and caught my daughter. She was born while their mother stood up.
Okay.
That's still a fad, though, even nowadays. No,
Well,
I don't
mean,
want to call it a
it's,
fad, but people think it's a fad.
What would you call it?
I would call it the way you're supposed to have a baby.
Oh.
But
right.
That's
exactly.
just me.
Not a centrifugal force spinning them out and releasing
Yeah,
them?
not spinning around,
But
not strapped
flinging?
to a hospital
No baby
bed.
flinging going on?
I
'Cause
mean,
that's what,
honestly, I
catch 'em
would
with the net.
prefer flinging
That's what
than
the article.
hospital.
That's the verb they used. Flinging.
Yeah.
To
I
fling
think
a
flinging
baby.
is better than
yeah.
having a baby in the frickin' hospital.
But we digress.
That's just me.
Bad Slave, what were you calling about?
Well, I was calling about to admonish you all and all the.
Okay, thanks.
No. Let me give you the admonish. You. Come on.
Where are we going? I'll drive.
We're
You'd have
going with federal law and the potential of that law not actually being authorized by the Constitution.
Okay.
So all of them, for the most part.
Yeah.
Nearly all of them. There's very, very few that correspond with the limited and powers that were given the 17 or 18.
So how do we get rid of them all?
Well, I'm happy for that too, but let's go back to and when people say, "Oh, well, they have a federal law about marijuana," you got to say, "No, they didn't."
I mean, they do.
No,
it's just invalid.
Of course, it's invalid. If it's invalid, then it's not a law.
But they will enforce it as if it is, and that's more important for the average person.
And stop that. I mean, this is what can be done with nullification in the general court in New Hampshire, and we can just do it. Just say, listen, you guys don't have this authorization. Go the F away.
So what does it take to put together a nullification campaign that informs and educates every resident of New Hampshire?
They do it all the time. Have you heard of the 10th Amendment Center?
I mean, I know about it because, well, I'm sort of a nerd, and I got into Liberty, I don't know, a decade or so ago. Nerds.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
However, not the average person doesn't know jack, right? If you say nullify, they go, what? That's a word I don't use in my everyday vocabulary.
About it ain't going to happen. You need to talk about it.
I do talk about it. What do you think I'm
talk
doing
about
here?
it.
He did. He called in.
Yeah.
He's doing his part.
I'm doing my
But I
part.
mean, if corresponding was saying something about the awful corruption going on in the federal government, and people say no, this is null and void. We need to make that happen, and we can make that happen in each state.
How?
I am of the opinion that we are beyond the point where we can change the minds of people so ingratiated into the state culture.
Well, I mean, it's never going to happen if you keep that mindset.
Yeah, don't be so negative.
I would rather just insulate myself with people that believe that
That's cool too.
and pull up not a physical wall, but a theoretical wall of protection around us.
Yeah, why not a physical wall?
It's too
Make the
Trumpian.
Massachusetts people pay for it.
Yeah, I would totally
If
do
we
that
get
too.
enough of those people thinking that way, and it doesn't need to be a majority by any stretch.
No, it just needs to be a loud, large enough percentage, and that's why we continue to encourage freedom-minded people to move to New Hampshire. Because, like, the time it takes to actually educate people about all this stuff versus getting people who have self-educated or are otherwise already educated about freedom to move here is the shortest path to that destination, I think.
So I've had a conversation with previous liberty-minded individuals, and we are on different pages on this, right? Most of us found this path due to reason and logic and stuff that makes sense, and the average person out there is not persuaded by facts, reason, and logic.
That's true.
They're moved by emotion.
Right.
So the only way to get them to be more liberty-minded is to appeal to their emotions. But they're also wishy-washy. which means when their emotions get swayed back the other way, they will lean back and go back the other way.
Right.
And so it's a catch-22.
Right.
You're not going to you have to get them with emotions, and then hopefully they catch on
with
to
the logic and the reason
behind
and
it.
stick. Right.
And
We've
stick.
even seen it within the liberty community where people get that wishy-washiness about certain topics. They'll bounce one way or another on abortion or borders and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like it just aligns with their preconceived notions of what they already were thinking. And if it doesn't, they justify a reason around it.
I mean, I've gone back and forth on stuff like that, but it was before I learned more, I feel like you can't. It was like, when I was a teenager versus when I was an adult and had more concrete ideas and theories about things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that might be different. But.
Even the border thing gets conflated, right? Because private border is good, public border is no good.
I mean, I have always been against.
Let's let Bad Slave have a word or two.
No, we're the masters here.
Say, which faction of government is the most disrespectful of the founding understanding?
I mean,
the
all
enforcement
of them?
arm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's
The executive branch.
It's the central government. The state governments are a little less bad, and the town governments.
Yeah, if I had my choice of which government pieces would fall and in what order, I would go federal first. Right? That would be, if freedom-minded people could only accomplish one thing, I would say, okay, yes, eliminate the federal government.
Well, but you don't need to eliminate it. You just need to get it back to begin with.
Well, there's your problem right there.
Well, I mean, so the documents, of course, to paraphrase Spooner, have done nothing to prevent the empire that it's created, and it's certainly done nothing to enforce. It's been what's the quote I'm looking for here?
It's either been powerless to prevent it or authorized it,
right,
or has been powerless to prevent it. Here's another problem with, the free stater mentality here, at least amongst some free staters, right, is there's the general consensus that the state size of government is the perfect size, right? We need to remove the yoke of the federal government, but we can't go down to the county line, right? Because, you want to be able to go from county to county and the rules change all of a sudden?
Right.
Yes. All down to the city.
I mean, that way you can, if you don't like it here, move, 20 minutes down the road, and it's, aligns more with your belief. What's wrong with that?
But they have made the claim, right, that no, we need the state government to prohibit the counties from being so distinct.
No.
Well, I appreciate your opinion on that, but I've heard that argument made in free state discussions.
That argument is preposterous for this reason and this reason only. If the decentralization of government all the way down to the county level is logical and makes sense, then of course it's logical all the way down to the individual.
But they don't want to go past state. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying that
get rid of the feds, keep it at the state.
Right.
So the counties can't overstep their reach.
Now, to me, that's a good start, right? If that can be achieved, sweet. That's way better than what we currently have, but it's not accomplishing the goal.
Right.
NHX is actually, part of that movement. But I mean, I think that the right answer is the nullification movement, where we pass one law or a bunch of local state laws that say the fact is that in order for you guys to get rated for the crypto 6, they had to bring in local enforcement, and if they didn't have a federal mandate, then they'd be done.
Hey,
there
Bad
is
Slave.
no jurisdiction.
Thanks for the call tonight. We appreciate you. 603-283-6160. Let's move on. Let's go to Minor Ake. Minor Ake is calling. You're on Free Talk Live.
Oh, sorry, I forgot I was just listening to the Bad Slave. No, I'm calling back about the tech issues I was having that you got mad at me about.
Oh, I
No,
thought you were
didn't
saying
email
tax
anybody.
issues.
I hate taxes.
Oh, yeah, well, I've got those
I'm against
too.
them. All right,
Just
hang on.
wanna
Let me
hear
put on
about
let me
it,
put on
but-
my tech support hat. Thank you for calling tech support.
This is Rajnish.
This is Roger. How may I help you?
Your name is not Roger.
You got to
Anyway,
keep role playing with him, Captain.
No,
have,
but
have you turned it off and turned it back on?
I did do that. I've tried. Yeah, I've tried restarting. I've tried. But anyway, no, literally, the Free Talk Live website is the only website I cannot get onto.
Nice.
I
Are you
mean,
spelling
I
it
don't know
right?
what else to say about it.
Are you spelling it correctly?
It's,
F-R-E-E.
yeah, it's very easy to spell. No, and it goes. No, yeah, you can do all that, and you can even if you spell it wrong, it'll do it for you. It's not, it's spelling isn't the problem.
Have you Googled it and
It's
let
like you
Google
go,
autocorrect it for you?
You click on it, you click on it, and then you get the little wheel of time.
Have you cleared your
and
browser
then
cache?
Would it be
Incognito
only
mode.
for the Free Talk Live website
get
that
there.
my browser cache is giving
I
me a
don't know. It
problem?
works on my computer, man.
Yeah. Now, the computer you're on, is it your computer? Is it a company computer?
Are you at the library?
No, it's just my cell phone.
Oh, it's just your cell phone. What's your cell phone browser?
Thought you were going to ask him for his cell
Google,
phone number.
I guess.
Yeah, so,
Is it Android or iPhone?
Oh, Android.
Okay.
Okay, so there could be a variety of browsers on there. I would download Firefox. They make a browser for Android. If that's
Just do a different browser.
yeah, try a different browser. See if the thing persists. If
That only
not-
works on Android.
If not,
But you literally have no clue why, just Google would be doing that?
I mean, it
You
works
guys
for
are
me.
pretty
So
smart
I've
about this stuff.
since you called, I tried it on my phone and on a couple of other places, as well as some other computers, and it works just fine. So it's got to be a local problem, either with your browser. Perhaps you have something where Free Talk Live has become blacklisted for some reason or another.
You know what? Maybe switch the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi
That
might
might
be
help.
doing it.
Yep.
Turn off your VPN.
Yep.
Change
Either
your
way-
DNS settings.
I mean, it shouldn't be this hard, though. I've
Yeah,
never,
Yep,
either
it's
way-
working on our producer's Android phone right now.
Yeah.
So
Either way,
But that's why, every time I call, I'm behind, because I can only listen to the podcast.
I mean,
can't.
go on Odyssey.
yeah, download the Odyssey app.
You don't even have to download the app. You can if you
yeah,
want.
you
but
can
if
also
just
go on
the website.
You can also
yeah.
go on Vaughn.
Well, right, but,
we're streaming video on a bunch of places. So
Oh, you do it live on Odyssey?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's not the only thing we do live on. No,
Watch.freetalklive.com, or you can just go to Odyssey and search for Free Talk Live. We're also on Vaughn. We're on some other. I think we're on Twitch still. So I mean, there's a variety of places. If only you could get to freetalklive.com to find out the list of all of the places that,
well, I'll tell
that
you
you
right
could
now.
alternatively go to.
Yeah,
Those are the ones
I
off the
should
top of my head.
Get on Odyssey and watch you guys doing this live right now.
Yeah, you can look at us and
Do it.
everything.
Yep.
I
Right
might
in
be
the face.
disappointed though because the camera does switch between me, Captain, and Nikki. So
Yeah, it's
At some
we're
point, you're
not
gonna
as
have to
high
look at
tech
Nikki.
as Rogan.
One out of three ain't bad.
Yeah, one at a time. 3-4 cams. All right, Minor Rick, thanks for the call.
Hey.
Good luck. Next time,
He
call
waited
about
a whole week
Yeah,
to call
next
back
time,
for tech support.
call
next
about
time
something
call about
better.
something not tech support because
You know,
we don't.
We got
Kinda
rid of
like we
Bad
said
Slave
last
for
week.
that.
But
Oh, that's
You know?
the major.
did
You know?
I accidentally summon him? We'll
Yeah,
find out shortly.
Yeah, eventually.
We'll find out shortly. Wait, who am I
Who you calling
short?
Don't call me shortly. Surely.
It's like, I mean, Bruce Lee was short, right? So, hey, Nikki, what's wrong with the chicken feed?
That's a great question.
People are reporting that their chickens have stopped laying eggs and that the feed might be the reason why.
That's what it sounds like.
According to this, what is this?
That's what the headline said.
EVmagazine.com. What exactly is causing the egg shortage? Many people are reporting that there are issues with the commercial chicken feed, speculating that it has even prevented their hens from laying eggs. I've seen this go around on the internet. I've seen people who are like, yep, I totally switched my chicken feed to this, all natural, whatever, and they started laying eggs again.
I have a question. Do you guys buy food at the grocery store?
Yes.
Okay. How much is a dozen eggs right now?
Like
I'm dead serious. I'm asking.
$5-6.
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay, is that expensive for
Yep.
the grocery store?
Oh, hell yes.
So what was it before?
Like
$1.
$1.29.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've seen it as low as 99 cents.
Yeah, every month or so they'd have a sale, and then you could get a dozen for $1.
Okay.
That's pre-COVID.
So not
and actually
anymore.
during COVID as well. Like it was really,
well, okay.
I mean, $6 for like bleached grocery store eggs sounds expensive to
It is.
me.
It's very expensive. Yeah.
So there's a couple of things. Now we got the feed issue.
Yeah.
Right. There's the general inflationary
of
problem
course.
that's causing
the
everything
40% of all the dollars that exist created in the last
Right.
couple 2-3 years.
But there was also like an avian flu that wiped out a whole bunch of the chicken
so
crops.
that was the original reason, in quotations, that they gave for the price of eggs going up.
But that's
And
not a
then-
false reason though. That's part of the problem.
My local egg lady was like, "Oh yeah, she used to charge me $3 or whatever. Now she's like, yeah, I'm gonna have to charge you $5 because the feed has gone up."
Yep.
So her chickens are still producing eggs.
Mhm.
I mean, I just bought 7 dozen eggs from her, so
Yeah.
she's got eggs.
So the feed
But
going up
it's
is
the
also an
feed
inflationary
price.
and supply chain issue.
So that's what
Right.
that sounds like.
It's
but
a
even from
cost
her,
of
it's like
goods.
$5 a dozen.
Look, I know you guys probably didn't listen to last night's episode, but we talked about there's a phenomenon.
Now I want to listen to it.
There's a phenomenon that's happening, and people are smuggling eggs across the border
Oh, yeah.
from Mexico
I've seen this.
into
Oh.
the U.S.
By the way, I listened to last week's Sunday episode, and I heard you guys talking smack about me.
Nice. When you got up to leave?
Yeah.
Remember I told you to make sure you listen to that part?
Yeah, that was messed up, man.
Yeah, sweet. I'm glad you finally listened to it.
No, I listened to it that night.
Oh, really?
I was at work, doing my thing, and I was like, "Oh, I better listen to them talking crap about me."
But she waited until tonight to air her grievances on air.
Yeah.
Nice. Did we do a
Yep.
good job?
Yeah, I guess so. Could have done better, but
Yeah, I mean,
challenge accepted.
always. It is the Sunday
Take a
night
break,
crew,
Nikki.
So it is the Sunday night crew. We put just a little less effort into this, I guess, than every other day.
Yeah. So do the callers.
So at any rate, the rising egg prices in America have affected millions of homes. The cost of eggs in California has risen 550% in the last month.
That sounds like a lot.
Going from roughly $1.34 to $7.37 per dozen.
$7.
There's
It's
places
cheaper
where
to buy chickens, honestly.
There's places where eggs are $9 a dozen.
What? I mean, when I was in California, gas was like $7 a gallon.
Oh, yeah, California's like
so-
twice as expensive as
California just
literally
sucks.
anywhere else.
Yeah.
Well,
everything about it just sucks.
Except their price increase for eggs has gone up about the same as it has in New Hampshire. Right? It's like 500 some odd percent, and here it's about 500 some odd percent.
But
So it's
here, I can go
comparable.
drive down the street and say, "Hey, neighbor."
Yeah, or just
Can
look
I
for
buy
a
a
sign.
dozen eggs?
Look for a sign.
Look
Somebody's
for
like,
a
eggs,
sign.
$5 or
Exactly.
whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But
in
as you said,
California,
even
you're
those-
driving like 10 miles and there's nothing.
But even you even said your neighbor or whom your farm
Yeah,
egg producer,
they went up.
they've went up as well because the feed goes up.
But
and they
you
have
know
to
what?
adjust their cost
But-
accordingly.
So she was like kind of lowballing everybody else. Everyone else I knew previously was still charging $5
Yeah.
a dozen,
Yeah.
just because they're like organic,
Yep.
like at the grocery store they soak them in bleach.
I would
They
much
do all
rather
sorts of
give
nasty stuff
somebody
to
that I
them.
know who's got a little
Absolutely.
hobby farm raising chickens. I'd rather give them $5 for a dozen eggs
Yeah.
than I would give the grocery store
And-
for $5 for the regular white egg.
At this point, yes, but I'm not going to pay the local farmer $5 for a dozen eggs when they're 99 cents at the grocery
But
store.
you know what? I do believe
I would for health reasons.
Yeah, I think they're more
But-
nutritious.
But
honestly,
I would only do
500%
it.
more nutritious.
But I would
Yeah.
only do it out of convenience. So, like, if I happen to be at somebody's place and they had chickens, and oh, hey, do you guys got eggs? Let me get some while I'm here. Yes, but I'm not like it's not like on my okay. It's Sunday, time to do my shopping. I'm going to this place to buy the organic. No, if I'm at the grocery store and I'm out of
Yeah.
eggs, I'm getting eggs at the store.
listen, if there's not poop on the egg,
You
I'm
ain't
not
eating
eating it. Absolutely
I
not.
still like them to be washed. Just like
I mean, I'll wash it myself.
I don't like the poopy eggs because if you go to crack one in the skillet and a piece of
Well,
the
you
poopy
need to
shell,
wash it
the poopy
yourself
shell
first.
falls in, it just really sucks.
Well, it's good for your immune system, man. No, wash it first.
I'm not eating chicken poop.
The irony too is in America eggs are refrigerated. In Europe they're not.
Right.
And for the same
Exactly,
reason.
because they're
Yeah.
washed to unwashed.
So
but
the
both
state,
are for health reasons.
The article continues, the state did blame this all on the outbreak of bird flu, but the others are not so convinced. In fact, several people have come out to say their chickens did not produce eggs for months until they changed their feed. One man, Urban Chicken Farmer, that's his on Twitter.
Need more fiber in their diet.
Uploaded a video on TikTok that theorized that something must be wrong with the feed. Something is wrong with the chicken food we're buying. Seriously, he said. My chickens have not laid an egg since July and nothing's changed. But then I was thinking, maybe it's because my chickens are getting older, or maybe it's a bad winter. But according to a lot of people on TikTok, they're having the same exact problems, and people are saying once they switched the food, their chickens are starting to lay eggs again.
The chickens were on strike for better pay.
So, Richie, do you think they're just constipated? No. They need more fiber.
Yeah, that was the previous joke, yes. More fiber in their diet to help them pass the egg better.
He continues to
ask. But now I think they're just on strike.
He continues to ask, maybe something's wrong with the food, and was it intentional?
We're not eating this GMO stuff. We're not laying eggs until we get some organic feed in here.
I mean,
honestly, it's easy enough to make it. They will literally eat anything. You got any sort of scraps from vegetables or fruit, literally throw it at your chickens. They will eat anything.
At your chickens or in front of your chickens?
In front of them. Okay. I mean, you can chuck it at them. That might be a little bit more funny, but they just don't, I don't know, buying specific food to feed your chickens just sound expensive to me.
We have music.
What's this?
Chickens for peace, we're chickens for peace, and we don't want to fry. Chickens for peace, we're chickens for peace. One little war, and we're chicken pot pie. Chickens for peace, we're chickens for peace, and no one respects a chicken who begs. Chickens for peace, we're chickens for peace. One little slip, and we're hard-boiled eggs. Chickens for peace, we're chickens for peace, but we're not chickens. We're taking a stand. Chickens for peace, we're chickens for peace.
All right.
Fade it out and give out the number before we go to break.
603-283-6160. Do you support Chickens for Peace? Give us a call. Let us know. More Free Talk Live is coming up.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Calls for police reform are mounting in the United States after the tragic death of Tyree Nichols. The 29-year-old black motorist died after a routine traffic stop involving 5 Memphis police officers, which turned violent. Memphis police said the unit they were a part of has now been disbanded. Chris Jones reports from Memphis.
They were part of a squad called Scorpion, which stands for Street Crimes Operation to Restore Peace in Our Neighborhoods. But the entire team has now been disbanded permanently, which is something Tyree Nichols' mother had been calling for since the incident in early January. Memphis Police Department has released a statement which said that the act of these 5 police officers has brought dishonour to the others in the squad, who all agreed that disbanding the unit was the right thing to do.
British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has sacked Nadhim Zahawi, the chairman of his own party, the Conservative Party. This follows an investigation into Mr Zahawi's taxes. Our UK correspondent Ollie Barrett has the details.
Rishi Sunak had asked his independent ethics advisor to investigate Nadhim Zahawi's tax affairs, and the ethics advisor has essentially found that Nadhim Zahawi was not open enough about some of the details about his tax affairs, the investigation into them, and the penalty at one point that he paid to the UK's tax authorities over his taxes. The Prime Minister paying tribute to Nadhim Zahawi's time in government, but also saying that it was clear that there had been serious breaches of the ministerial code. Nadhim Zahawi himself will head to the backbenches, and Rishi Sunak will hope that he can rely on his support.
A reported grim prediction of a conflict between the United States and China over Taiwan is now being backed by a top Republican in the US House of Representatives.
I hope he's wrong as well. I think he's right, though.
That was the new chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Michael McCaul, speaking to Fox News Sunday about the views of Air Force General Mike Minahan, who in a memo to his senior officials expressed the view that the US could be at war with China in 2 years' time. The memo, dated February the 1st, was first seen last week by NBC News, and in it General Minahan says, "I hope I'm wrong. My gut tells me we will fight in 2025. He cites both Taiwan and the US presidential elections in 2024 as potential cues, the former as a motivation for Chinese action and the latter a domestic distraction for America. A US defense official has said these reported comments are not representative of the Pentagon's views, but they precede US Secretary of State Antony Blinken's trip to China, which comes as both superpowers are attempting to dial down mutual tensions over a range of issues from trade to Taiwan. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking today at the latest developments in Afghanistan, where, as we've reported in recent weeks, efforts to get the Taliban to allow women to play a role in healthcare and humanitarian assistance are still underway. 2 UN delegations visited Kabul last week and think they secured a commitment to unveil new Taliban guidelines that could allow women back into some non-governmental workplaces. But it's unclear whether officials who made those pledges have the authority to effect change. Bob McMahon is with the US-based Council on Foreign Relations.
You take women out of the equation and you severely restrict your ability to help them. And it doesn't matter if the Taliban are able to bring battalions of men into the front lines in all these areas. It's not going to work the way it needs to work, certainly in healthcare, where the Taliban will admit women should treat women. A very high-level group of UN officials came last week, led by the Deputy Secretary General, Amina Mohammed, a woman, who was not addressed eye to eye by a number of Afghan Taliban leaders, but nevertheless got her message across. But it's not clear how much is really going to be able to happen and how much the Taliban is willing to endure or allow its people to endure before something breaks here.
There is agreement that the Taliban are at least ready to discuss the issue, but with millions of Afghans relying on assistance that in some cases has only been delivered by women, the outcome of all this remains deeply uncertain. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. Calls for police reform are mounting in the US after the tragic death of Tyree Nichols. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has sacked Nadhim Zahawi, the chairman of his own party, the Conservative Party, after an investigation into his tax affairs. And a reported grim prediction of a conflict between the United States and China over Taiwan is now being backed by a top Republican in the House of Representatives. And that is the latest from Feature Story News. I'm Jagruti Dave in Washington.
Fossilized evidence reveals the Spazosaurus was the largest doofus ever to roam the Earth, and a new tandem mobility scooter is released. This is the Onion Week in Review, damn it, and we're going to need you to demonstrate a little decorum. Got it? This week, economists confirm that the booming tear gas industry continues to lead the world's economic recovery. Financial experts confirmed that the growing demand for tear gas in countries like Turkey, Brazil, and Greece has increased over 20% annually over the past few years, and is anticipated to continue playing a major role in the world economy.
The market for tear gas just keeps sustaining itself and growing. We can only hope that more people demand tear gas in the coming months, and the recovery will be here sooner than we thought.
In other news, a community is devastated by the sight of an old man struggling up some steps. A stack of unused CDRs turns 5 years old, and this zoo is really promoting the hell out of their new fruit bat. Your diligence and patience have been noted. Prove yourself further at theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
And we're back. And we're back. And we're back.
And we're chickens for peace.
Chickens for peace.
We didn't get to hear the line, but there's a line in there that goes, chickens for peace, we're chickens for peace, and we will win. We're not turkeys for peace. It's my favorite line. Because they're just pointing out that, you know, they don't want to be confused with other fowl.
Yeah.
I like turkeys.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I like turkey both for Thanksgiving and the Christmas holidays. Outside
Do
of
you
that,
like it when they jump in front of your car?
No.
You have to slam on the brakes?
No. I also do not like the Booze Wild Turkey.
Oh.
Although I do appreciate when
I
somebody
do.
shows up at Thanksgiving with a bottle of it.
Yeah.
Not
Why
because
not?
I want to drink it, but because it's called Wild Turkey and you're showing up with turkey on Thanksgiving. Right? Yeah.
I'll drink it.
And wild turkeys are native to New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Really?
Bless.
Yeah, there's wild turkeys all over the place. It's
Wow.
ridiculous.
Have you seen them?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, they jump out of the woods
On the
right
freeway,
in front of your car.
So
Oh, yeah, on the freeway.
we'd have to
yeah.
modify the ICP
I know
song
you're not
to-
from here because you said freeway.
Yeah.
We don't say that here.
What do you
I'm
say?
sorry.
Highway.
It's not a highway.
Well,
Yeah, actually,
here it
they're all
is.
highways.
What's that?
Most of the roads around here are highways.
Yeah, but I'm specifically talking about the interstate, which is a freeway.
That would be a freeway.
Yeah, we don't call it that here.
Thank you, Kevin. They call everything highways just to confuse
Foreigners.
burners.
You know, they also say Worcester.
Yeah.
It's Worcester. but-
Whatever.
Whatever.
Worcestershire.
For the worst.
Worcestershire.
The worst Chestershire sauce. It's not the best Chestershire sauce. It's the worst.
Absolutely.
Worcestershire.
I was going to ask a question, and now it escapes me.
Ask a different question.
Was it about turkeys?
It probably was. Oh, yeah. Does the ICP have to... Do we have to change the ICP lyrics because we're in New Hampshire to go turkey hunting?
What is it to begin with?
We're going chicken hunting.
Oh.
And so
yeah.
I think in New Hampshire it would have to be changed to go turkey hunting.
Well, if
we
you
have
get the
chickens
appropriate
here.
hunting license and permit from the New Hampshire state. It's not a real law. Why are we telling people it's a real law?
Before we go on, we're going to get to your calls and thoughts. I need to ask a favor from, well, everybody really, including you guys. As you know, Ian Freeman, founder of this program, Free Talk Live, was recently convicted of various victimless crimes and is facing up to 20 years in prison just for selling some Bitcoin. We can argue all day as if the jury was mistaken, but that won't get us anywhere. What will be helpful is for you to write a letter to the Honorable Joseph LaPlante about Ian's character, how he helps the community, and why you think he deserves a light sentence. So if he's helped you in any way, if he's brought value into your life, if you've been a fan of the show, we're asking you to write in and tell this judge how Ian has affected your life. If you've held office, had a stellar career, or you've been a volunteer, that would be something to mention. Ian is a selfless man that has always tried to do what he thinks is right. It would be a tragedy if he had to spend any time in prison at all. We need these letters quickly, so please don't put it off. Send your letter for Ian Freeman to 63 Emerald Street, number 610, Keene, New Hampshire, 03431. If you didn't get all that written down as I just said it, that's okay. All the info that you need is at letters.freetalklive.com. Again, letters.freetalklive.com.
For everyone else that can get on the website.
Yeah, except for Minor Ache. All right, let's go to your calls and thoughts. We've got Monty calling from Kentucky. Monty, you are on Free Talk Live.
Hey, guys, I really like the show. I like the intelligent take that you have on everything, and I really, probably the most enjoyable part is the way you're really aggressively mediocre. And I called.
It's going to be our new slogan on Sundays. The aggressively mediocre Free Talk Live.
I called about the chickens, but when you start talking about these judges, I mean, you just got me riled up because, these judges, they constantly violate people's rights. And, of course, U.S. Code 18, Section 242, violations of rights under color of law is a felony. And every time they do it, they should be charged with one count. And you guys talk about the local thing, right? I think it's the sheriff.
And they all do it except for the Honorable Joseph LaPlante.
Yeah, right. And, I would never say anything about the honorable. Well, actually, anybody that forces me to call them honorable has got something wrong with their brain. And all these lawyers that make you go to school just to learn another language so that you can get a degree in fooling everybody how smart you are, like Kamala Harris and Joseph Biden. I mean, these guys are lawyers, right? And we see how sharp their tools are. I mean, these guys are just jokes. But let me get back to the chicken part, because that's what I really came here to call about. I've got about 50, maybe 60 birds, ducks, chickens, geese, a couple of silkies, and for some reason the silkies are the only ones that never stop producing. And I kept using the same feed, so I don't know what the deal was, but I think the cold weather is what got mine production down. And
do you mind if I ask what brand of feed you were using?
It's from it's the same brand. I think it's Producer's Pride, the same one they sell at Tractor Supply store, but I buy mine from Rural.
Oh, so that's the one.
I asked because this article, the next two sentences of this article says, that's a question I'm asking myself, and I've seen all over TikTok, Facebook, and everywhere. She then talks about the many posts on social media of chicken owners discussing how they ditched the commercial feed, specifically the brand known as Producer's Pride, in order to get eggs.
There you go.
Well, you see, Producer's Pride, they got a couple of different products. They got meat bird, and they've got layer feed, and they've also got scratch. And the scratch is, like all of them, is mainly corn, but they've also got about 3 or 4 other grains in there. I mean, you can buy bags that are like 7 grain or 8 grain, but it's basically a waste. The chickens, they just, I feed my chickens way too much food. There's always excess. I give them table scraps. They don't eat vegetables. They love noodles and rice.
Do you throw it at them?
They just want to, hey, if they get in my way, I'll just hit them right in the eye. I don't care.
See?
But the ducks and the chickens, they've started producing in the last 2 weeks. So I'm getting about 7 or 8 eggs a day now.
And that's the same feed you're feeding them that you have been, and that the article says was lowering production.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I never changed the feed. I just, I think it was the cold weather. But
did you get more feed recently?
Oh, you think it's like a bad batch?
I'm
just wondering if they knew it was a problem and fixed it, and now it's not a problem anymore. You know what I mean?
This stuff has been sitting on pallets for no telling how long. They got huge warehouses.
Sure.
Mega tons of pallets goes into these places, and they distribute it. So
everything's got a rotation, but
really is. Yeah.
I mean, my thing with it would be if the feed was causing the chickens to lay less eggs, it would have to be intentional. Because nothing else makes sense to me.
He was suggesting it was the weather.
So, and that's what I was thinking at first, too, because a lot of people were saying, oh, my chickens aren't producing eggs. And I'm thinking, okay, well, it's winter. Chickens don't really produce that many eggs in the winter. But,
so what you're saying is we got to warm the planet to fix the egg crisis.
Well, some people use lamps and stuff like that.
Monty, how long have you had birds?
More than 10 years. I've been off and on, but,
so do you normally see a decrease in production in the winter months?
Yes, but not as drastic as it has been. But we've had some really bad cold snaps recently, so maybe the birds are smarter than us, and they know it's about to get cold, so they fatten up a little bit more. But I got really no idea. We were going crazy trying to. We did bump up a couple times to the 7 and 8 different grains, and we just wasted money doing that.
Yeah.
Rice and noodles is basically what they love more than anything. So yeah, it's just one of those things. All right. And it wasn't just us; it's all around us too, because we talked to other chicken farmers too. The little guys, and they were having the same problems. So
your chickens and ducks or whatever you got going on there are all back to laying, regularly?
Yeah.
How long has that been the case? So how long between the time you noticed the problem, so the whole problem was over 3 weeks?
No. They started back up in production in the last 2 to 3 weeks. But before that, we were down for about 2 months.
So no production at all for 2 months?
The Silkies were the only ones producing, and that's kind of strange. They're a funny chicken. They've got the only one with 5 toes, and they got the funny feathers too. That's more like a hair than a feather. So they're a little bit strange birds, but they kept producing. But everybody else just knocked off drastically.
All right. Well, let us know if you see anything else, and thank you for the call tonight. We appreciate you. 603-283-6160. You think the weather? I mean, it's...
So that's generally what happens is when it gets colder, they produce less, and that's what I thought originally.
But stopping completely for 2 months seems...
No, that's not normal. So when I first started hearing about this, I heard someone it was actually on TikTok.
Yeah.
Someone...
Trusted source.
Exactly. So someone was listening to a TikTok near me, and I was listening to it, and I'm like, well, it's winter. I don't care where you are. It's colder in the winter. Even if you're in Southern California, a little bit colder in the winter, they produce less.
Yeah.
So at first I thought nothing of it, but then I heard of people switching their feed and then having the chickens produce. And I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting.
And that's what this article points out, is that some people did just that.
And at first, I'm not going to put too much stock in things I'm hearing on TikTok.
Chicken stock, beef stock?
Chicken stock. But when I hear 10, 15 people tell me the same thing, especially people I know in real life, then I'm going to start taking it more seriously.
And even to our caller's admittance, he did switch up some feed. So perhaps whatever switch he made is the reason his chickens began laying.
Well, he also said he wasted money switching it up, right?
Or did he, right? I mean, if it's been 2-3 weeks... how long does it take for changing your chicken's feed to affect their laying?
It might take a little bit.
So, I would think a week or two, right? I would think.
Yeah.
I don't know what the digestive tract of a chicken looks like.
Me neither. He would probably know better than I would, but,
Too bad we let him go.
Yeah. That's okay. We have more to talk about, including... As people, the three of us and everybody else on this Free Talk Live show throughout the week, 7 days a week, 7 to 10 p.m. This is very disturbing. This is from CNN.com. British teenager who made far-right hate videos influencing Buffalo shooter has been jailed for 11 years.
Oh, no.
Just for making videos?
Correct.
Oh.
Well,
freedom of speech.
Incitement of a crime.
Out the window.
Yeah. They don't have that in England. We fought a war to get our freedom of speech.
Right? They can't even have freaking
This is the equivalent of when I was growing up in the 80s, there was this organization called The Truth About Rock. And it was one of these loosely affiliated with the PMRC and Tipper Gore's crusade against... Tipper Gore caught her daughter listening to an album by Wasp called F Like a Beast, although F is, the word I can't say.
Yeah.
And so she went on a crusade against rock and roll.
I'm so glad she did.
Is this the video where the guy from Twisted Sister completely destroyed her?
This is the reason that parental advisory lyrics labels
Losers.
exist. Yeah. So at any rate,
no, because here's the thing. By the time I was growing up in the 90s, that's how I knew. That's how I knew I wanted the album,
right? Yeah,
because it had the parental advisory sticker on there.
Label.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I asked for a CD, and my mom goes, "You sure you want this one? It doesn't have the label on it." I'm like, "Yeah, it's cool anyway."
Mom already knew.
She already knew. It's got to have the label. I don't want it.
So saying that this guy making whatever videos he made is causing the Buffalo Shooter to become the Buffalo Shooter is like saying that I listened to Ozzy Osbourne and that caused me to commit suicide.
Yeah, it doesn't
not
make any
true.
sense.
It's like I hit my foot with a shovel for your mortgage. The things they don't connect.
Well, generally you're right, and there are people that take influence from more influential people and do things they wouldn't have done independently. And I'm not saying that the influencers should be held accountable, but I am saying they have an influence.
Certainly they do. Yes. Have I been influenced by heavy metal music? Absolutely, positively, without a doubt I have. Yes. Has it influenced me to go and take a life or my own life? No. I find that ridiculous. And for anybody to blame content creators for the heinous actions of another human being is insane.
Okay. Agreed. And yet there's still the crime, right, of like inciting a riot, right? If you're there and you're like, man, we should burn this thing down, and then other people do, they go, well, he kind of started it.
A British teenager who made far-right extremist videos, this is according to CNN. I have not watched the video, so I have no idea. That, quote,
Good
influenced...
Otherwise, you'd go on a shooting spree.
The mass shooter who killed 10 black people in a Buffalo, New York supermarket was jailed for 11 and a half years.
It's just wild to think that someone in, Great Britain could influence this person.
Can we just call it Britain?
So it's crazy to think that this person in mediocre Britain...
That's better.
It does feel
How
more
do they even have the
accurate.
jurisdiction on that one?
And that's what I'm saying. It's crazy to think that this person across the ocean made a video, and now this person in Buffalo, New York is shooting people,
right,
and it's their fault.
Right.
That just doesn't really make too much sense to me.
Oddly enough, also going on in Britain, people will get arrested for things they post on, like, Facebook.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's now a thing, too.
That's a thing,
I
too.
knew they could only have, like, plastic forks, but, because they can't have any weapons.
Oh.
They can only have, like, plastic knives.
Oh, there was, okay, so I don't know if you guys,
someone with one of
I don't know if you
those.
saw it. I think it was England. There was like a meme or a picture of a cop, right, standing in front of like a metal detector in the middle of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Right, because in England or wherever this picture was, someone looked this up, right, they were just, as people walked by the metal detector, they were using it to find out if they had any weapons on them. Right? Beep, beep, beep. Oh, he's must got something. And the cop's standing right there just monitoring the metal detector to catch people with weapons. It is embarrassing. It totally is.
Daniel
Get
Harris,
Palmer stuff.
Daniel Harris, age 19, from Derbyshire, Northern England, posted videos shared by Peyton Gendron, who pleaded guilty to the shooting in Buffalo, as well as videos linked to Anderson Lee Aldrich, the suspect accused of killing 5 people in a mass shooting at an LGBTQ nightclub in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Last November, the court heard, according to PA. I don't know who PA is. Anyway, sentencing Harris in court.
AP spelled wrong?
Oh, yeah.
Dyslexia?
Maybe. Sentencing Harris in court in Manchester, Northern England, Judge Patrick Field was quoted by PA as saying,
I guess not.
What they did was truly appalling, but what they did was no more than you intended to encourage others to do when publishing this material online. So they're punishing him as if he were the shooter, or saying that, him making videos is as bad as somebody going and shooting a bunch of people.
Could be worse, because if that video influences more shooters, then he's responsible for more crime.
I would say it still wouldn't be worse.
Fine.
I mean, this is all the things that we talk about, right? Freedom of press, freedom of speech, right? Art freedom, right? Freedom to, make whatever content you want without being hindered.
But you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. I think that's been debunked.
Don't do that, right? But, if you want to make a video and talk about it, obviously you can do that. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, they don't have freedom of speech.
I mean, if I yell
in
fire...
mediocre Britain.
If I yell fire in a crowded theater, did I really cause everyone to trample over everyone else on their way out?
No.
No. Just don't be able to yell fire in a crowded theater.
You can yell whatever you want,
Yes.
according to me.
Thank you, Nikki.
You're welcome.
I've learned from the Smothers Brothers that if you ever fall into a vat of chocolate, that you should yell fire.
Go on.
Well, you're supposed to ask. Why would you yell?
Why would you yell fire?
Because nobody come and save you if you yell chocolate.
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sweet Tooth.
I love chocolate.
I also love
Who
chocolate.
doesn't?
I might just swim around in the chocolate for a while before
Oh, you're
yelling
drowning?
anything.
That's cute.
No, I do like the backstroke, you know.
He's got to eat his way out.
Yep.
It's like
It's like a Willy Wonka.
No, Beer Fest. You ever see that movie?
Yes.
So dude falls into a vat of beer, and
He
it's
has to
difficult
drink-
for him to
the
get out.
only way he
So
has
he
to
looks
drink
left,
his way
and he
out,
looks
yeah.
right, and he goes, huh? And he goes, glug, glug. He just starts trying to drink his way out of the situation.
Yep. That's what I would do.
When referring to Buffalo shooter Gendron, 19, who admitted to charges of murder and hate-motivated terrorism, Judge Field said, at the very least, the material you produced and published had some influence upon the young man. And I note he was a similar age to you, who went out and shot 10 black people dead in a store in Buffalo. Prosecutor Jill Allman said investigations following the shooting at Club Q in Colorado had revealed a link between videos shared by Harris and suspected shooter Aldrich.
So this was in Colorado?
No. They're trying to blame...
Oh.
They're trying to
Multiple
tell
things
this
on
guy who made these videos that not only did he influence, not only is he an evil bastard for making these hate-filled videos that influenced the Buffalo shooter, but they also influenced the
No,
Colorado shooter.
that's not how that
and
works.
therefore, he is a heinous person and should rot in hell for all eternity.
That's crazy. It's crazy to think that this boy could even get 11 years just for making a video. That's terrifying. And then they're trying to blame all these shootings on him when
I
he
mean,
didn't really do anything.
You've heard of Ross Ulbricht, right?
I mean,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
So it's not like there's anything new, but still.
The court heard the videos he made, glorified. It doesn't even say the court reviewed them. It's almost like hearsay. The court heard the videos he made, glorified mass murderers, and encouraged others to emulate them, with one video called How to Achieve Victory, promoting total extermination of subhumans once and for all. Harris was found guilty after a trial of 5 counts of encouraging terrorism and 1 count of possession of material for terrorist purposes.
I mean, this kid sounds like a weirdo, but he definitely doesn't belong in prison.
He's probably read Hoppe.
The one about the possession for terrorist purposes referred to a 3D printer he was attempting to use to make firearm parts.
I mean, that doesn't make him a terrorist.
Judge Field said Harris had been, quote, a propagandist for an extremist right-wing ideology, adding, you are in close touch with other right-wing extremists online, and there can be little doubt that you shared ideas between you, PA reported. Like
who says that in
did
court?
you present any evidence of this claim?
They don't need to. It's England. Or Britain.
That's wild.
The judge added the teenager had previous
Or the
convictions,
Yeah.
including racially aggravated criminal damage of a memorial to George Floyd in Manchester, New Hampshire, in England. Why do they have a George Floyd memorial in Manchester, England?
He's a hero.
Because it's trending.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen there.
Well, it's trendy. You know, it's trendy.
Do other places have tributes to George
Yeah,
Floyd?
I'm
that-
pretty sure.
Probably.
Maybe not. Maybe murals of some kind.
Yeah,
Maybe not a whole
probably.
statue.
603-283-6160. Do you think people who make videos should be in jail for over a decade? Give us a call. Let us know your calls and thoughts plus more. It's Free Talk Live.
There is no such thing as attention span, according to Jerry Seinfeld, who figures that people have an infinite attention span if you are entertaining them. Hey, he's kept us from channel surfing for several decades, and now he's making more millions as a Las Vegas headliner. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important, especially if you're looking for work. So choose every single word as though it was the last word the person you're speaking to will hear. Otherwise, it might be. Avoid redundancies such as added bonus, advance warning, end result, prior history, or personal belongings. And avoid cliches like the plague. Just kidding. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Calls for police reform are mounting in the United States after the tragic death of Tyree Nichols. The 29-year-old black motorist died after a routine traffic stop involving 5 Memphis police officers, which turned violent. Memphis police said the unit they were a part of has now been disbanded. Chris Jones reports from Memphis.
They were part of a squad called Scorpion, which stands for Street Crimes Operation to Restore Peace in Our Neighborhoods. But the entire team has now been disbanded permanently, which is something Tyree Nichols' mother had been calling for since the incident in early January. Memphis Police Department has released a statement which said that the act of these 5 police officers has brought dishonor to the others in the squad, who all agreed that disbanding the unit was the right thing to do.
British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has sacked Nadhim Zahawi, the chairman of his own party, the Conservative Party. This follows an investigation into Mr Zahawi's taxes. Our UK correspondent Ollie Barrett has the details.
Rishi Sunak had asked his independent ethics advisor to investigate Nadhim Zahawi's tax affairs, and the ethics advisor has essentially found that Nadhim Zahawi was not open enough about some of the details about his tax affairs, the investigation into them, and the penalty at one point that he paid to the UK's tax authorities over his taxes. The Prime Minister paying tribute to Nadhim Zahawi's time in government, but also saying that it was clear that there had been serious breaches of the ministerial code. Nadhim Zahawi himself will head to the backbenches, and Rishi Sunak will hope that he can rely on his support.
A reported grim prediction of a conflict between the United States and China over Taiwan is now being backed by a top Republican in the US House of Representatives.
I hope he's wrong as well. I think he's right, though.
That was the new chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Michael McCaul, speaking to Fox News Sunday about the views of Air Force General Mike Minahan, who in a memo to his senior officials expressed the view that the US could be at war with China in 2 years' time. The memo, dated February the 1st, was first seen last week by NBC News, and in it General Minahan says, "I hope I'm wrong. My gut tells me we will fight in 2025. He cites both Taiwan and the US presidential elections in 2024 as potential cues, the former as a motivation for Chinese action and the latter a domestic distraction for America. A US defense official has said these reported comments are not representative of the Pentagon's views, but they precede US Secretary of State Antony Blinken's trip to China, which comes as both superpowers are attempting to dial down mutual tensions over a range of issues from trade to Taiwan. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
And we're back.
Hell yeah. That's right. I said it. Will you say it?
Hell yeah.
Nice. Will you say it? Bagok. It's B''G''OK. Bagok.
Yep.
Here on Chicken Talk Live.
What the cluck are we doing?
It's a good question.
It's as if our feet are webbed. Wait, no. We're swimming along? No.
No.
What do chickens do?
They can fly sometimes.
They hunt and peck.
Yes, they can.
I've never seen a chicken fly.
They can fly like up until trees.
Like,
they can't like fly.
It's like saying penguins can fly.
But they can fly.
Penguins can just like sled without a sled.
They can get a little bit of lift.
A little bit of
but
lift.
They can't sustain
some
it.
lift.
Yes, that's a good
Okay.
way to describe it.
It is Free Talk Live, the Sunday night edition, where we are aggressively mediocre.
Amen.
Amen.
And we'll continue to do our best to make that happen from here on out.
Well, you could do your best. I'm going to just be mediocre.
We'll do our best to be mediocre.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it doubly mediocre? If
This is just who I am.
Sorry to hear that.
In the studio tonight, it is myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
Alice Cooper. Oh, wait, hang on. Wrong radio show. It's Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
It's funny because Alice is one of those androgynous names, right? But I know who Alice Cooper is.
Is it, though? Is it
that.
androgynous? Because there's really only like one male Alice.
I mean,
Alice
that
Cooper.
counts, right? Yeah.
I don't think it makes it androgynous. I think it makes him unique.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
He's definitely unique.
There's certainly, no one can confuse Alice Cooper for really anyone else.
Right.
True.
It's not like Pat or Alex, right?
Pat from Saturday
or
Night
Val.
Live.
Right, yeah.
It's Pat.
It's Pat.
Let's go to your calls and thoughts. It's Major Payne calling from Michigan. Major.
Yeah, let me egg you on.
But
You guys talking about the chicken thing, that was a particularly foul conversation, so you leave me little choice but to join in.
Exactly.
So anyway, a buddy of mine runs a health food store.
Okay.
And he's been into this, non-Roundup, non-GMO business for a long time.
No Monsanto in his shop.
Okay.
There's a stretch of the county where there's a whole bunch of Amish farms, okay? Well, out in this particular subsection, there's a chicken farmer. He raises turkeys and ducks and all that kind of crap, but he's not Amish. Well, when when he first got going in business, he had him convinced to, not use what's the damn word I'm thinking of?
Like organic?
Herbicides.
Non-GMO, non-Roundup seed.
No herbicides, right? Yeah, I got you.
Cow and whatnot, And he did this for a couple, 3 years, and the chickens was good, and Doc sold them out of the store. He went back one year, and the chickens was all scrawny and whatnot. And Doc got to talking to the kid about the feed and whatnot, and he said, well, his old man had talked him into buying this GMO feed because it was so cheaper, and he said they'd be all right. And Doc just looks at him and says, son, I can't sell these damn chickens. There ain't no meat on them. And I'm thinking that might be the same thing with the eggs. If you got problems with birds, mind your feed.
Yeah, I mean, certainly.
That's what the article suggests.
What else you got, Major?
Well, page then.
All right, thanks for the call, Major. Thanks for not chickening out on that one.
I think the weird part about the feed is that a lot of these people have been using the same kind of feed for maybe years.
Right.
And it's only until now that they have an issue. And then they switch the feed, and then they're fine.
Right. So if he's saying it's been on the shelf and warehoused and on pallets, right?
Yeah,
it could have been a
for
bad batch.
everybody all across the country.
Well, where's the feed produced, right? If it's produced in a big old factory warehouse or whatever, it's been sitting for several years. I'm not saying it's old feed, but it could have been all from the same batch that is finally cycling its way through.
I don't really understand how that could affect it, even if it was old.
The feed?
Like, to me, the only thing
I'm
that
not
makes
saying
sense...
it's old. I'm not saying it's old. I'm saying, like, in the production process, they had a bad batch.
Yeah.
Right? Like, things get
like,
produced wrong all the time, and they recall
I guess
it.
So, yeah. Yeah,
and so maybe
that's
this lot number of feed that was produced sometime back in 2020.
It's just a coincidence that this is happening?
No, it's not a coincidence. It's that batch of feed is finally hitting the market and the shelves at the same time.
That's possible. It's just weird because they were blaming the prices of eggs going up in the grocery store on the avian flu.
Why is that weird?
So what's weird to me is that there's the bird flu,
right,
and there's the bad food,
right.
So both things are happening simultaneously.
Well, and
now eggs are $7.
Well, and
a
also
dozen?
you got to factor in inflation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true. So we have all these three things make eggs $7 a dozen. It just doesn't really. It's a big coincidence to me.
I'm not convinced that it's done rising. I mean, we might see $10 eggs.
Probably. In California they were $10.
Okay, there we go. My prediction has come true.
Yeah.
So also a coincidence then, right? During the supply chain crisis.
Yeah.
Right. There was like a shortage of electronic devices, right? They stopped the production of cars, right? right? Because they couldn't get the chips.
Right.
Yeah.
And part of that was because they shut down production.
Right.
Right. In addition to that, a big part of that was that the chip manufacturing plant in Taiwan burned down, and they were responsible for like 95% of the chips on the market.
Right.
Right. So there can be non-coincidental, multi-factor reasons for economic changes.
No, those would be coincidental. Just a coincidence that these three things all happen simultaneously.
I don't believe in coincidence. So.
Well, then it's manifest destiny for us to have $10 eggs, and there's nothing you can do about it. But yes, the avian flu can happen.
Yeah, they killed a bunch of chickens, and then the food is making them not lay eggs.
And then the truck overturned in Texas and spilled like 35,000 pounds of eggs.
Yeah, it's just
Right?
yeah.
Supply goes down, price goes up. That's basic economics. Basic economics.
Baseonomics?
We're doing 2 portmanteaus in one show?
Yeah, the night is still young.
All right.
Portmanteau.
Whoa.
Wow, he went there.
I am just.
But now it's a Portman 3. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
A never-ending
Hey, don't
loop
kink
of-
shame anyone. Portman 3. All right. I really don't like this bit about this kid going to jail for 11 years for
that
making
sucks.
videos. But
how old is he? I know you're trying
19.
to change the subject, but that's crazy.
19.
He's
Yeah.
still a boy.
Yeah. Well,
You
and
want to know the things
regardless-
I was saying at 19?
Regardless of what he did and
Yeah, you don't
said,
wanna know.
regardless of what he did and said, he should be free to do that without
Absolutely.
prosecution.
Not in mediocre Britain.
Well,
he's
then
not.
he should move somewhere where it's allowed.
But he's 19. He can't move anywhere.
Sure he can.
He's
He's
a
an
little
adult.
boy.
He's an adult.
No, not
He's an
really.
adult.
Just barely.
Let's get to the meaty story today.
Is it about chickens?
The headline? No, it's about scientists who use a laser beam to divert lightning strikes.
Really?
Laser-guided lightning systems could someday offer much greater protection than lightning rods.
That doesn't make any sense.
Laser-guided lightning. It just sounds cool, right?
It sounds like a cat would like it.
Like one of those pointers on
Yeah.
the wall, on the floor.
It's interesting, and I also fear it's going to be misused.
So, this is from freethink.com. Sometimes a scientific accomplishment needs no hype to sound cool. Laser-guided lightning is one of these cases. Since the time of Benjamin Franklin, we've looked for ways to control or at least deflect lightning strikes. In 1999, scientists first tried to control the path of a lightning bolt with a laser. Now scientists are reporting the first successful demonstration of laser-guided lightning. Pictures of one of the experiments speak for themselves. Well, actually, that's not true. Pictures don't speak at
I mean,
all.
they're worth 1,000 words, though.
Exactly.
Right, but
So
they don't
did
actually
this-
speak for themselves.
Did this only happen once? And now they're saying it's a thing?
You think they just got lucky?
Because this might be a coincidence. I might take it back.
She's already changed her
We bring it
opinion
back.
live on the air.
Full circle. Why does it work? ? The power of very large lasers breaks down the atmosphere itself, creating a path for the lightning. The laser fires pulses of light rather than a continuous beam. Each pulse carries roughly a terawatt, 1 million watts, of instantaneous energy. This amount of power can only be delivered for a very tiny amount of time, about a picosecond, or 1/millionth of 1 millisecond. You can imagine a science fiction laser blaster. The pulse is a traveling line segment fired into the air. The blast is about 1 millimeter long, would motion blur into a beam in our eyes, and is made of infrared photons, so don't picture it too literally. Oh, thanks.
So that's like
Why
Star
didn't you tell me
Wars?
that before you told me to imagine it? Now I'm blind, and I can't finish the segment. You bastards. The huge power of the pulse decreases the speed of light in the air through which it travels. This is a nonlinear optical process, jargon for an effect that is only observed at extremely high light intensities, such as a powerful laser pulse. Okay. So anyway, yeah, sometimes scientists did a thing. They diverted some lightning using a laser.
Cool.
There you go.
I told you my cat would
Yeah,
love
okay.
that.
I feel like, how would you aim that thing? Right?
Well,
like lightning
aliens.
strikes so quick. Not where would you aim it? Jesus. Like the lightning strikes happen so quickly. I'm imagining like.
Oh no, you have to listen for the thunder.
No, that comes afterwards.
Oh well, I guess you're screwed.
Massachusetts people, man.
Sorry, I learned that in public school.
Lightning before thunder, light before sound.
Right, yeah. If you count the seconds between the lightning and the thunder, you can tell how close the storm is.
I knew that
estimate.
part.
Yeah,
but
that's because you see the lightning and then the sound wave catches up.
I guess so. Whatever you say.
You guess how much you want. That's how it works.
All right, Mr. Scientist.
Well, he's no Neil deGrasse Tyson.
No, not at all.
Nobody is.
More of like a Mr. Wizard.
The article does conclude the scientific report is relatively short, highlighting the demonstration itself, but only briefly delving into the details. It's clear that most lightning strikes did not travel the laser path. Laser-guided lightning is still in the research stage. It works occasionally, but for reasons not yet fully understood, under impractical and very expensive conditions.
So, like I said, it's a coincidence.
Having shown that it can be done, however, science will now attempt to fully understand it, make it consistent, and see whether it's practical in the real world. In the meantime, we can hope for more beautiful pictures demonstrating this stroke of ingenuity.
And the conspiracy theorists are going to get all over this.
Well, it's like most of the time we do this thing and it doesn't work, but every once in a while we do it and it works because it's just a coincidence.
And
it's like hitting on chicks at the bar.
And the potential villain with the bald head and the high pointed collars with the egomaniacal laugh also must wait for them to develop this technology.
An echo-activated laser lightning detector.
The Chancellor, from Star Wars.
I was thinking
Palpatine?
of Ming the Merciless
Palpatine.
from Flash Gordon.
I was thinking Jeff Bezos.
I don't know what that is.
You don't know what Flash Gordon is?
No.
Oh my gosh, you got to watch that movie.
Don't confuse it with Flesh Gordon.
So gives the advice from Richie Rich. The soundtrack is entirely done by Queen.
Cool.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What year is this movie made?
Oh, 82, 85,
right.
maybe, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Flash
Gordon?
It's old, yeah, Flash Gordon.
Okay.
Flash Gordon is an actual superhero. Many comic books
I've heard
made
of this.
about him,
The
that
Flash?
kind of thing. Yeah. Not The Flash. Different. The Flash is
Oh.
the DC version
Yeah.
of...
Flash Gordon's like a football player.
Yeah.
I hate it already.
He doesn't really... He gets sort of recruited by aliens, and because he's athletic and strong, he, goes on to do things. But he's not like... He doesn't get bit by like a radioactive spider or anything cool like that. But
just a football player.
All right. So, laser-guided lightning. There we go.
Lightning happened so quickly. I don't know how they'd hit the button to like fire the laser quick enough.
Yeah, it just doesn't sound like fake news, honestly.
So,
or predictive news, predictive programming.
Nobody predicted this segue, but you guys have heard a lot of stuff pass by the headlines of your feeds about classified documents. Right?
Yeah,
oh yeah,
all the time.
That was big, and you're like, okay,
I usually
whatever,
just tune it out. Yeah.
Well, so I made up a headline for this next story. My headline is, "Hey guys, would you please check around your houses and properties for any stray classified documents you might have laying around?" Great, thanks.
Right.
Because apparently
We got, Mike Pence has some. We have Donald Trump.
Apparently these classified documents just,
they're all over
get
the place.
Velcroed to politicians
And you know
who
what?
leave their classified places.
The amazing thing is when Trump did it, he went, "Everybody does it," and he was right.
Yeah, he was right.
He was right.
But and that's my thing. I didn't even know he said that. But my assumption would be that all politicians would do that. How do you not end up with classified documents?
You leave it at the office.
You know what
Stop
I mean?
bringing your homework with you.
I mean,
Work home
everyone
with you.
does it. Like, I've accidentally brought stuff home from work that I wasn't supposed to
Yeah,
have.
well, Nikki, if
and then,
everybody was jumping off the New York Bridge or the Brooklyn Bridge, would you do it too?
Only if a British teenager told me to in a YouTube video.
Yeah, exactly.
And was put in jail later for a decade.
I wouldn't know. I'd be dead.
This actually from APnews.com. Past U.S. presidents, vice presidents, and vice presidents asked to recheck for classified documents.
The founding fathers have classified documents.
How'd the Bill of Rights get in here? I don't know where this could have possibly come from.
The National Archives, that's a government organization, by the way, has asked former U.S. presidents and vice presidents to recheck their personal records for any classified documents following the news that President Joe Biden and former Vice President Mike Pence had such documents in their possession.
And that's the thing. So Donald Trump had them, and he's like, whatever. Well, everyone has them. It's no big deal.
Didn't they raid him like FBI style?
Yeah, they raided him FBI style. It was a huge deal.
But Pence and Biden don't get the FBI raid?
Well,
because they happen to cross them.
Well, and that's the thing, right? So they're like, it seems like everybody must have them. So if you guys could just please, at your earliest convenience,
that's what I'm saying,
see if you might have some classified documents.
Would you look under the seat of your car, please?
Someone needs to check Jimmy Carter's peanut silo.
I feel like you're in school, right? And the teacher's like, okay, look, little Billy's still missing his ruler. Everybody check your backpacks because nobody's leaving until little Billy gets his ruler back.
Didn't return your library book.
Right, something.
Oh, man. In high school, I think it was high school physics class, like the teacher said, like, everyone's got detention until someone tells me what's going on. I'm like, I'm taking my break and I'm going to the principal's office because I'm not sticking around for detention for somebody else.
Right.
And the principal had to talk with him, or the dean or whatever, had to talk with him, and I got out of detention.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done.
Rule follower.
Yeah.
Protocols.
So the National
They're for a reason, people use them.
The National Archives sent a letter Thursday to representatives of former presidents and vice presidents, extending back to Ronald Reagan.
Oh, so Jimmy Carter's free and clear.
Sounds like it, yeah.
That's where they're all at.
They're all
peanut
buried
silo.
under the peanut farm.
Yeah.
All the way back to Ronald Reagan to ensure compliance with the Presidential Records Act. They had to pass a law, apparently.
Is it a recent law?
I don't know. According to a copy obtained by the Associated Press, the act states that any records created or received by the president are the property of U.S. government and will be managed by the archives at the end of an administration.
Oh, so Trump couldn't even kept it just because everyone else was doing it.
The archives sent the letter
it's a defense
to...
that won't hold up in court.
Right. The archives sent the letter to representatives of former presidents Donald Trump, Barack Obama, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George H.W. Bush, and Ronald Reagan, former vice presidents Pence, Biden, Cheney, Gore, and Quayle. Speaking of foul.
Nice.
Have you ever had quail eggs before? They honestly suck.
We used to put them in oyster shots.
That would actually be a good place for them. But you try to make like an omelet with them, and it's just you have to crack like 10 of them.
I had like a mental
you have to
thing.
Cut them. It's ridiculous.
I had a mental thing about eating duck eggs, but then I had them and they were just like eggs.
Oh, you have to put. I heard you had to put lemon juice on them to make them not smell bad.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Whoever made them right. I was just like, they're just like eggs. You know?
I would totally eat a bald eagle egg. Just saying.
My freedom.
Yep.
Responsibility to comply with the Presidential Records Act, quote, does not diminish after the end of administration, unquote, the archives wrote in the letter.
Is this a felony? Can they all get charged now?
Probably.
Therefore, we request that you conduct an assessment of any materials held outside of the archives that relate to the administration for which you serve as a designated representative under the PRA to determine whether bodies of materials previously assumed to be personal in nature might inadvertently contain presidential or vice presidential records subject to the PRA, whether classified or unclassified. They said self-importantly.
It is our responsibility to maintain the documents, and we've lost track over the past 40 years.
It's kind of weird that there even is such a thing as classified documents. Like,
Well, how
shouldn't
about-
we all just be able to know
How
whatever
about
it says?
there's a department of the government called the Archives?
Yeah, it just sounds sketchy, you know?
What are they, the Oracle? We are the keeper of all the knowledge. No, it's not you. It's the internet.
Well, it is now.
Well,
but at some point, it was a library, right?
They certainly keep a lot of it. All right.
Sure.
Spokespeople for all of the aforementioned people did not immediately respond to requests for. They list them all again. I'm just not going to say them again. Freddie Ford, chief
Donald Trump, who set out a tweet.
Well, if Elon lets him. Freddie Ford, chief of staff to former President George W. Bush, suggested in his response to the archives that Bush's office did not believe a search was necessary, saying, "Thank you for your note. We understand its purpose and remain confident that no such materials are in our possession."
Sounds like they need to search him.
What, they didn't just bust down his door with a bear cat and... You know.
Maybe he gave them all to Hillary, who shredded them all. We don't know. We don't know. They remain confident, however.
Well, I mean, if they did go after Bill or Hillary, right, that's a suicide.
You mean Hillary?
Hillary. Another one.
That's right. I'm 3 for 3 on the night even.
Boom. That's 4.
Dropping portmanteau like, well.
No, that's 4.
Like a loose bowel movement.
Oh, that's terrible.
Wait till
what they do?
Wait till he gets into microdosing.
Well.
Not on air.
Yeah.
Beer Talk Live.
At any rate, Biden's lawyers came across classified documents from his time as vice president in a locked cabinet as they were packing up an office he no longer uses in November.
You didn't even know he had them.
I don't know what happened. I just flake.
Derp.
I don't know the combination.
Of course, subsequent searches by the FBI and Biden's lawyers have turned up more documents. Former Vice President Pence, too, this week discovered documents and turned them in after saying previously he did not believe he had any. He was confident, apparently. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment, but the searches by Biden's attorneys and the FBI appear to fulfill the archives' request. The archives had no comment. Blah, 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 blah.
So it's easy to jump to the conclusion that they're hoarding these documents for nefarious purposes, right?
Sure.
Oh, we're selling them to foreign agents.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Or they just forgot about them.
Well, that's easy. That's a mistake.
You know, like anything could be a classified document, right?
I mean, it has to be declared classified, but sure.
But what does that even mean?
Right.
It means they went, this one is classified.
I feel like anything could be classified.
No, I feel like everything should be declassified.
I'm with
when
you.
it comes
That's
to
what
the
I
United
think.
States government.
Understood. But then where would you put it? On the internet? And at the archive?
I mean, yeah, why not?
Yeah, blockchain
Who
it,
cares?
whatever.
Yeah.
Scan it, upload it, it's fine.
I'm not
That's what I
disagreeing
would
with you.
Yeah.
But she's saying anything should be can be classified.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know
the
what
bureaucars-
warrants it to be
bureaucrats figure that
classified or
out.
not.
Right, somebody's got a
You know
rubber
what I mean?
stamp. Classified.
Top secret.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. I feel like anything that runs across the president's hands, they'd be like, "Oh, this is now classified."
Right. Look at all the time somebody goes to do a FOIA request and whatever they get comes back heavily redacted.
Yes.
Even though it's not classified.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like, what is that? Is that classified? Is that not classified?
No, it's redacted. All right, letting you have this information would put lives at risk across the world.
So we're gonna black it out with, black highlighter.
It's the opposite of whiteout, isn't it? The redaction.
Blackout?
Yeah,
Yeah.
blackout is what it is, right?
They actually thought they were using a highlighter the whole time, and they
Certainly
just
was-
realized.
Yeah, certainly was not highlighting.
They're like, "Wait, this is a Sharpie?
Yeah. We better,
I'm confused."
We better mark the really important parts of this Freedom of Information Act for this particular customer, right? Yeah, customer, right?
Nope.
Like
Victim.
we're customer, victim.
Slave.
A bad
603
one at that.
603-283-6160. Hour number 3 of Free Talk Live is coming up. Stay tuned. We've got more in store for you.
Free Talk Live.
There's going to be no food by February.
Oh, that seems a little extreme. I find that hard
Well,
to
watch
believe.
it happen. Hope you find Christ.
Oh, good luck, buddy. Thanks.
What really turned me away from religion was the fact that most of them are so intolerant and nasty.
What do you
Your
mean?
life will suck unless you find Jesus. Well, I had Jesus a long time ago, and he didn't really do anything for me, so I got away from that.
Right, and I can tell you that if you want to have that attitude with people, like,
Good
well,
luck
you better find Christ, or you're going to burn in hell.
Yeah.
Then
Good luck converting people.
Yeah, I really want to hang out with people like you, there, Keith. I really want to hang out with people like you. So I'm sorry to those good Christians out there listening that aren't like Keith. But it's the loudmouths like Keith that do real damage to your religion and how people feel about it.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Calls for police reform are mounting in the United States after the tragic death of Tyree Nichols. The 29-year-old black motorist died after a routine traffic stop involving 5 Memphis police officers, which turned violent. Memphis police said the unit they were a part of has now been disbanded. Chris Jones reports from Memphis.
They were part of a squad called Scorpion, which stands for Street Crimes Operation to Restore Peace in Our Neighborhoods. But the entire team has now been disbanded permanently, which is something Tyree Nichols' mother had been calling for since the incident in early January. Memphis Police Department has released a statement which said that the act of these 5 police officers has brought dishonor to the others in the squad, who all agreed that disbanding the unit was the right thing to do.
British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has sacked Nadhim Zahawi, the chairman of his own party, the Conservative Party. This follows an investigation into Mr Zahawi's taxes. Our UK correspondent Ollie Barrett has the details.
Rishi Sunak had asked his independent ethics advisor to investigate Nadhim Zahawi's tax affairs, and the ethics advisor has essentially found that Nadhim Zahawi was not open enough about some of the details about his tax affairs, the investigation into them, and the penalty at one point that he paid to the UK's tax authorities over his taxes. The Prime Minister paying tribute to Nadhim Zahawi's time in government, but also saying that it was clear that there had been serious breaches of the ministerial code. Nadhim Zahawi himself will head to the backbenches, and Rishi Sunak will hope that he can rely on his support.
A reported grim prediction of a conflict between the United States and China over Taiwan is now being backed by a top Republican in the US House of Representatives.
I hope he's wrong as well. I think he's right, though.
That was the new chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Michael McCaul, speaking to Fox News Sunday about the views of Air Force General Mike Minahan, who in a memo to his senior officials expressed the view that the US could be at war with China in 2 years' time. The memo, dated February the 1st, was first seen last week by NBC News, and in it General Minahan says, "I hope I'm wrong. My gut tells me we will fight in 2025. He cites both Taiwan and the US presidential elections in 2024 as potential cues, the former as a motivation for Chinese action and the latter a domestic distraction for America. A US defense official has said these reported comments are not representative of the Pentagon's views, but they precede US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken's trip to China, which comes as both superpowers are attempting to dial down mutual tensions over a range of issues from trade to Taiwan. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking today at the latest developments in Afghanistan, where, as we've reported in recent weeks, efforts to get the Taliban to allow women to play a role in healthcare and humanitarian assistance are still underway. 2 UN delegations visited Kabul last week and think they secured a commitment to unveil new Taliban guidelines that could allow women back into some non-governmental workplaces. But it's unclear whether officials who made those pledges have the authority to effect change. Bob McMahon is with the US-based Council on Foreign Relations.
You take women out of the equation and you severely restrict your ability to help them. And it doesn't matter if the Taliban are able to bring battalions of men into the front lines in all these areas. It's not going to work the way it needs to work, certainly in healthcare, where the Taliban will admit women should treat women. A very high-level group of UN officials came last week, led by the Deputy Secretary General, Amina Mohammed, a woman, who was not addressed eye to eye by a number of Afghan Taliban leaders, but nevertheless got her message across. but it's not clear how much is really going to be able to happen and how much the Taliban is willing to endure or allow its people to endure before something breaks here.
There is agreement that the Taliban are at least ready to discuss the issue, but with millions of Afghans relying on assistance that in some cases has only been delivered by women, the outcome of all this remains deeply uncertain. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. Calls for police reform are mounting in the US after the tragic death of Tyree Nichols. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has sacked Nadhim Zahawi, the chairman of his own party, the Conservative Party, after an investigation into his tax affairs. And a reported grim prediction of a conflict between the United States and China over Taiwan is now being backed by a top Republican in the House of Representatives. And that is the latest from Feature Story News. I'm Jagruti Dave in Washington.
The military's newly developed unmanned Pentagon spokes drone completed its first live mission today, successfully carrying out a press conference on the war in Iraq. The mobile press engagement unit is being hailed by Pentagon officials as a revolutionary advancement in protecting military personnel.
The spokes drone proved effective at neutralizing reporters' questions about 85% of the time.
Many officials say the unit has the potential to save countless careers. Using a high-tech gimbal camera and microphone system, the unit tracks reporters' movements and audio output, then analyzes the data to assess the threat level.
It formulates and deploys an effectively vague response.
We have taken away a number of the enemy sanctuaries and gained initiatives in the areas. Eileen.
Military technology experts see the unit as adaptable to a wide variety of treacherous interview scenarios. They estimated it could even withstand situations too hostile for any human spokesman to bear, such as anti-war documentary interviews.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
And we're back. We're back. We're back. I love our fake special effects. Our audio delay. You can say that again.
Captain's back.
And there's gonna be trouble. Wait, no.
Telephone.
Oh, wrong song.
Yeah, sorry. What are we doing here? Oh, yeah, we're a live call-in radio talk show. What are we called?
Free Talk Live.
What's the telephone number?
603-283-6160.
When we last left our heroes, we were talking about apparently
Flash Gordon.
Apparently the government needs to ask former politicians to sort of check around their places, make sure that there aren't any stray classified documents laying about.
Just in case you might have left them there or something.
It seems like entrapment, right? How can you admit to having it all of a sudden?
Why would I tell you about that?
No, of course I don't have classified documents in my basement safe at my son's house in the Hamptons.
Okay. I want to talk about this particular topic. I want to get the
good thing he's
term.
In charge.
Yeah, the term. Have you guys ever heard of home equity theft?
No.
All right, you guys know what home equity is, though,
yes.
right?
Yes.
You buy a house and the value goes up, and it's the difference between what you owe versus what it's valued at, right?
Sounds like a scam, but continue.
All right. So this from FEE. What does that stand for?
The Foundation for Economic Education.
That's true.
Fee.org. How a Massachusetts town seized a farmer's $370,000 property to cover a $60,000 tax debt.
Wow.
And kept the change.
They sound like monsters.
This is referred to as home equity theft, and it's a much bigger problem than many realize.
Yeah, like imagine being retired, and you don't have the money. I mean, that's criminal.
Oh, it's worse than criminal. It's political. Seriously.
It's evil.
It's worse than, what do they call it when the taxman comes to take your property?
Theft?
No. There's a term for...
foreclosure?
No, when they acquire the property.
Eminent domain?
Eminent domain is one of them. There's another one.
I don't know.
Asset forfeiture, something.
Okay. Well, that's usually
civil
not real
asset forfeiture is the process by which they use to take property. So this is even more heinous than all of that.
Whoever did this, whoever was involved with doing this, I hope they can't sleep at night. I hope they have nightmares for the rest of their life of stealing this person's home from them and their livelihood.
No, they don't care. It's just a process. You're just following the rules. Rules set forth by the state.
Like, imagine being a normal person. You work for the state, and this is what you do. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
At the very least.
Yeah.
I'm just doing my job, man. I go to work, I grab the classified documents, I come home.
You should be shunned from society
Absolutely.
for even being
I'll throw
employed.
rocks at you. No, I wouldn't do that, but someone should.
Alan DiPietro is an alpaca farmer in the town of...
Oh, DiPietro?
Yeah.
You know her?
I might. Wait, what's the first name again?
Alan?
No.
In the town of Bolton, Massachusetts?
That's literally where I'm from.
No relation
the town
to Michael.
over.
No relation to Michael Bolton? Oh
Wait,
my gosh, you know
I
these
actually
people.
literally know these people. I went to high school with I'm not going to say his first name, but yeah, this.
Population 5,376?
Yeah.
That's literally where she's from, but it's also the town over.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I went to high school in Bolton, Massachusetts.
They were rivals.
That's
You
wild.
didn't really go to high school for very long.
2 years.
Okay, that's half of what everybody
I
else
did
spends.
cheerleading there when I was in 4th grade.
All right.
Come on, dude. This is my... this is wild. Okay, continue.
How do you say the last name? Pietro?
DiPietro.
It's not Pietro?
No, it's DiPietro.
Okay, all right. Ellen DiPietro
4th grade cheerleader
is an alpaca farmer.
Are we not going to talk about that?
In No, we're not going to talk about making the 4th grade cheerleader.
I have photos if you want to upload them to the website.
No. It get rated again? Come on.
He lives in an RV on the 34-acre property where he keeps his alpacas, and he sells their fleece. He literally fleeces the alpacas to make a living.
Then he got fleeced by the government. Now he's complaining.
DiPietro wasn't always a farmer. He previously worked as a chief engineer for iRobot, a company that makes autonomous home cleaning devices such as the Roomba vacuum cleaner. He became disenchanted with bureaucracy and red tape of the corporate world. However, so in 2008, he decided to leave that world behind and begin his alpaca farming venture. Should have done it in New Hampshire.
Nice.
Yeah, honestly.
The years since then have not been easiest for him. In 2014, he suffered a financially devastating divorce that ultimately led to bankruptcy, so got fleeced by his wife while he's fleecing the alpacas.
It all comes around. Full circle.
After the bankruptcy, he still had some money in a 401k, and he used it to buy the 34-acre property he now lives and farms on. The home he was living in was foreclosed, however, and he was evicted in 2016. It was then that he moved the motorhome to the farm. In the ensuing years, DiPietro found himself in a protracted legal dispute over how he could use his own property. Go figure. Massachusetts
it's not
would never
his.
do that. He had mowed some fields and had built some wooden fencing and some small sheds, but he was later told these actions violated certain state and local environmental regulations. As a result of various enforcement actions and lawsuits, DiPietro struggled to use his property in a profitable manner, and his financial situation became dire. He became delinquent on his property taxes in 2016, and the 14% annual interest began accruing on his unpaid taxes. As the years went by, the legal battle intensified and DiPietro's situation only worsened. By 2021, he owed the town roughly $60,000 in unpaid taxes and other costs. Owed, right, yeah. The property value at the time was roughly $370,000, and DiPietro did own it outright.
Or so he thought.
Or so he thought, that's right. A couple of simple solutions to his debt problem likely jumped to the top of your mind. Couldn't he just make money with the property some other way, or sell part of it to pay his debt? Indeed, he could if the town would let him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But the town stopped him.
Yeah, welcome to Bolton.
The town stopped him at every turn. When he applied for a forestry permit to sell trees on his land, for example, the town's conservation officials asked for it to be denied on account of his alleged environmental violations, and the department in charge of permits complied with this request. He was also prohibited by the town from getting a guard dog and from connecting to the internet and the electrical grid.
Seriously?
Wow.
And the town would not legally recognize his address.
Honestly, I'm not surprised. Bolton, Massachusetts is one of the worst places.
These and other restrictions undermined several potential projects. The town also refused to give him the permits he needed to sell part of his land. And the reason for the refusal was the fact that he had outstanding property tax debt.
Literally doesn't make any sense, but okay.
None of this makes any sense.
Why did? Oh yeah, but they're gonna take the land anyway. So they were just finding a way. What
They're
did he
just
do?
being D-bags.
Whose toes did he step on?
It's not hard in this town.
Okay.
Listen.
Here's what you got to do: invest in a bulldozer, put it in a warehouse.
Yeah. Over the Bolton police station, please.
Watch some videos about Marvin Heemeyer. And hopefully the makers of those videos don't go to jail for influencing you on whatever you're about to do.
Or the movie Tread. That was a good one, too.
That was good. I enjoyed that one. In short, DiPietro was caught in a catch-22. He had to pay the debt to get permission to make money, but he needed money first to pay the debt.
Oh, you just go down to your local bank and get a loan.
With the debt remaining unpaid, a land court foreclosed on the property in December 2021, transferring absolute title of the land to the town as payment for the debt.
So this is the same town that doesn't let you paint your own house because it's in a historical district and it needs to be either white or whatever color. And if you do paint your house, you need to pay a giant fine. This is also the same town that takes land from people because they say, oh, they're just extending the main street. So you can either take our $10,000 or however much we're going to pay you for your land, or we're just going to steal it. This is the same town that pulls people over for going 5 miles over the speed limit and harasses them.
You could be
a lot
describing
of history with this area.
You could be describing many towns in the United States. I understand you are personally familiar with this, but
Yes.
having traveled around and
the same
done
stuff,
some
different
driving,
area. Yeah.
done some driving for a living, this is not the only town that engages in these practices.
But I do have to take this opportunity on the radio to trash the Bolton Police Department.
She needs to vent.
Because I have had severe trauma, years worth of trauma, because of the Bolton Police Department. The Bolton, Massachusetts police are the worst police I have ever encountered in my life.
They pick on fourth grade cheerleaders.
They do. Me, a previous fourth grade cheerleader, they have harassed on multiple occasions.
I just want to see Nikki get interviewed on like a newscast, like a local
World
news.
Star.
And no,
I was a cheerleader.
No. Whenever her picture comes up, she starts talking. It says Nikki,
former fourth grade
cheerleader. That's your big claim to fame.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
The town has also, getting back to this guy, DiPietro, the town has since initiated eviction proceedings to remove him from the property. And what about the $310,000 difference in equity above and beyond the debt? The equity should rightfully belong to DiPietro,
No,
right?
they're going to build another football stadium with it.
Yeah, the town kept it, which is allowed to do under state law, apparently.
What?
On today's episode of Massachusetts Sucks.
Yeah, just drop the M.
Yeah.
So they wrote the law that says if we seize your property, we can keep all the value?
Yeah, probably. Wouldn't
well,
surprise me.
I mean, then it's legal then. What can you do?
I mean, they wrote a law that says they can literally steal your property and you can do nothing about it. So
Noting,
they wrote it down.
Noting the injustice, the Pacific Legal Foundation, known as the PLF, joined DiPietro in filing a lawsuit against the town on January 10th.
On what grounds? It was
month,
legal. It was the legal taking.
Demanding he get back the portion of the equity which is rightfully his.
Well, that he thinks is rightfully his, but clearly the law states otherwise.
Well, it wasn't ever really rightfully his, right? Because as long as he had to pay taxes on it, basically the government's your landlord, and it's not really yours.
Can you just real quick tell me what date this article is from?
I mean, the lawsuit was being filed on January 10th of 2023.
Okay. So recently,
fairly recent.
They foreclosed in December of 2021.
Okay.
So this article is from January 27th with a bunch of cute little alpacas.
Yeah, they look cute. Fuzzy little guys.
A pervasive problem, the article continues, the practice of keeping the equity of a foreclosed property above and beyond the debt owed is known as home equity theft and it's a lot more common than you might think. Across the country, local governments and private tax lien investors regularly foreclose on properties for unpaid tax debts and then keep the whole value of the property, even though that value is often far greater than the amount of debt that was owed. In 38 states, this is illegal. Foreclosing parties are required to sell the property and return the excess profits to the original homeowner. In 12 states, however, one of which is Massachusetts, local governments or private investors can take the entire value of a tax foreclosed home.
I'm just surprised that the other 38 states haven't followed suit.
Yeah, honestly.
Why not? What's to stop them?
A recent PLF report highlights how extensive this practice has become. In our study of 31 Massachusetts localities representing 1/3 of the state's population, the government foreclosed and sold 254 homes for tax debt from January 2014 through 2020.
There is no way that could turn corruption, right? Oh, the budget shortfall? Let's just go let's go get the tax assessor out there to raise the value assessed.
Right.
And then when people can't pay, we'll just take the whole thing.
Massachusetts law allowed the taking of an estimated $60 million in equity above and beyond what these homeowners owed in property tax debt. So that's a $60 million profit that these thugs are further raping.
Disgusting.
Not only are they demanding tax, which is theft, extortion, if you will, once you cannot do anything about it and make that payment, they're going to take your property, they're going to sell it, and they're going to keep the change.
Well, I guess we know where that new police station came from.
Another 154 homes were foreclosed for tax debts from January 2014 through December 2020 by a private investment company that purchased tax liens, the right to collect the tax debt, from the state. So there's a third party that buys these contracts from the states and goes out and does this stuff themselves.
Legit.
Massachusetts law allowed the taking of an estimated $37 million in equity above what these homeowners owed in property tax.
I thought you said it was 60.
60 million Massachusetts. That was January 2014 through June 2020. And then Massachusetts law allowed the taking of an estimated $37 million for January 2014 through December 20. That doesn't make sense.
Okay.
So there's a typo here. I'm not sure which one.
Okay. Skip it. Move it on.
DePietro unjustly lost roughly $310,000 of equity, representing 84% of his property value, roughly. This is a fairly typical case, judging by the PLF report. In the localities we studied, homeowners lost 87% of their home equity on average, nearly $260,000 per home. Imagine if you could just you know what, I need somewhere around $300,000. Let's find somebody who's behind on their property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead, foreclose that bastard, sell the place, and keep the change. Now we've got our $300,000.
And they wrote that into the law. Like, it's allowed when we do it. Theft when you do it. Allowed when we do it.
There's apparently an argument in
disgusting.
favor of this practice. They go on to say the argument in favor of this practice is that the lost equity basically amounts to a fine or penalty for tax delinquency.
No, that's the interest they already have been charging.
I know. You broke the law after all, and breaking the law has consequences, the reasoning goes.
That's what it says.
If a state deems that one of those consequences should be that you lose the equity in your home, so be it.
Yeah, do yourself a favor and move out of Massachusetts right now, right
Can we
this
influence
second.
that dude to kill himself? Is that we're going to get in trouble for that?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not the property owner, but the dude who's suggesting that it's the right thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he can.
Wherever they got the argument in favor from, they don't specify.
Oh, okay. So I'm not influencing anyone in particular then.
The arguments against this practice take a few different forms. For one, detractors argue taking more value than what's owed is simply unjust.
You think?
Does there need to be another argument?
Yeah, no dirt.
Is that not the only argument that they should be making? They also argue that this violates just compensation clause of the Fifth Amendment, which states that if a government takes private property for public use, it must compensate the property owners appropriately.
But that's not for public use, though. That's not an eminent domain taking.
You know what? The The worst part about this whole thing, like, I can believe that some bureaucrats and in the state it would say that they can do this. But the fact that there are real human beings that are assisting taking houses from people and completely not even giving them what they're, not even giving them the rest of the value of the home back.
Yeah.
And most of the time, these are elderly people who are retired. The fact that real human beings are assisting in this.
Well, this is just a failed businessman.
Blows my mind.
Right. This was not even a case of the elderly. He was just like a failed businessman, right, who fell behind.
It doesn't. I mean, it
and was
doesn't really
trying to work
matter
out
who
other
is.
ways to do it.
And in theory, he had the assets to pay the debt. They just wouldn't allow him to liquidate.
They wanted to take his
No,
property.
because it's the state being the state, and Massachusetts is especially heinous.
Those who would put forward the argument that this taking amounts to a fine, detractors would respond by pointing to the Eighth Amendment, which states that excessive fines shall not be imposed. Surely, this is an excessive fine if there ever was one.
Yeah. Don't call me Shirley.
And don't call me Shirley. A final argument against this practice is the simple point that it tends to impact the most vulnerable members of society more than others. PLF
people
comments,
can't pay their fines.
Right. Like similar tax foreclosure schemes in other states, the Massachusetts system likely hits vulnerable people the hardest. Most people don't intentionally fail to pay their property taxes, as with Calkins's, another case, and many others. Life happens. Homeowners get sick, experience personal financial crises, or miscalculate a late payment. Research demonstrates that the elderly, sick, and poor are especially at risk of losing their most valuable asset, their homes, for unpaid property taxes. So, yeah. Point made, definitely. The 19th century French economist Frédéric Bastiat coined a term that aptly describes this practice: legal plunder.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely...
falls into that category.
Bureaucratic piracy, right? On the high seas of finance and taxation. The law, says Bastiat, is supposed to prohibit theft, but all too often it is weaponized by governments and special interest groups to enable theft.
Yep.
Rather than being outlawed, plunder is legalized and legitimized. How do we know when legal plunder is occurring? Bastiat gives us a handy diagnostic tool in his 1850 book, The Law.
Great book.
But how is this legal plunder to be identified? Quite simply, see if the law takes from some persons what belongs to them and gives it to other persons to whom it does not belong. See if the law benefits one citizen at the expense of another by doing what the citizen himself cannot do without committing a crime.
All of taxation.
Yep.
Yeah, all of it. All of it. Well, the existence of government.
Yep.
All of it.
Well, the existence of government, right, is necessitated by taxation. They have to plunder some way to finance their operation.
Right.
Right.
Right. It's based on immoral acts, corrupt acts.
Right. If you could prevent them from getting the money, right?
Well,
then
why
why
do they need to steal the money if they can just print it?
Well, because Massachusetts can't print it. Right? You need
true.
you need the almighty federal government to print the money.
And there's tons of rich people there to steal money from, and poor people for that matter.
In a world of secure property rights, taking the entire value of a property for a much smaller debt would surely be a crime.
Surely.
We said don't call me Shirley.
We already made the joke, yeah. Carry on.
In fact, some, including this author, would argue that property taxes as such constitute legal plunder. They do.
Yeah.
Since they involve forcefully taking money from peaceful property owners. Whether you agree with that or not, it should be clear that taking equity above and beyond what is owed is indeed theft. Not only is this a grave injustice, it also harms vulnerable people and gives governments a powerful incentive to back these people into a corner, as the Bolton government did with DePietro. Yeah. It's long past time to end this predatory practice.
In honor of Bad Slave, we should point out that no taxes are owed, right?
Correct.
They are taken.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't pay taxes. They take taxes. Show me where you agreed, where you consented to having a giant system that is basically the harbinger of death and destruction. Because I can't find where I consented. Can you? 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is coming up.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Calls for police reform are mounting in the United States after the tragic death of Tyree Nichols. The 29-year-old black motorist died after a routine traffic stop involving 5 Memphis police officers, which turned violent. Memphis police said the unit they were a part of has now been disbanded. Chris Jones reports from Memphis.
They were part of a squad called Scorpion, which stands for Street Crimes Operation to Restore Peace in Our Neighborhoods. But the entire team has now been disbanded permanently, which is something Tyree Nichols' mother had been calling for since the incident in early January. Memphis Police Department has released a statement which said that the act of these 5 police officers has brought dishonor to the others in the squad, who all agreed that disbanding the unit was the right thing to do.
British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has sacked Nadhim Zahawi, the chairman of his own party, the Conservative Party. This follows an investigation into Mr Zahawi's taxes. Our UK correspondent Ollie Barrett has the details.
Rishi Sunak had asked his independent ethics advisor to investigate Nadhim Zahawi's tax affairs, and the ethics advisor has essentially found that Nadhim Zahawi was not open enough about some of the details about his tax affairs, the investigation into them, and the penalty at one point that he paid to the UK's tax authorities over his taxes. The Prime Minister paying tribute to Nadhim Zahawi's time in government, but also saying that it was clear that there had been serious breaches of the ministerial code. Nadhim Zahawi himself will head to the backbenches, and Rishi Sunak will hope that he can rely on his support.
A reported grim prediction of a conflict between the United States and China over Taiwan is now being backed by a top Republican in the US House of Representatives.
I hope he's wrong as well. I think he's right, though.
That was the new chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Michael McCaul, speaking to Fox News Sunday about the views of Air Force General Mike Minahan, who in a memo to his senior officials expressed the view that the US could be at war with China in 2 years' time. The memo, dated February the 1st, was first seen last week by NBC News, and in it General Minahan says, "I hope I'm wrong. My gut tells me we will fight in 2025. He cites both Taiwan and the US presidential elections in 2024 as potential cues, the former as a motivation for Chinese action and the latter a domestic distraction for America. A US defense official has said these reported comments are not representative of the Pentagon's views, but they precede US Secretary of State Antony Blinken's trip to China, which comes as both superpowers are attempting to dial down mutual tensions over a range of issues from trade to Taiwan. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Lights are flashing. Nobody's home. It's Free Talk Live. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. The telephone number here is 603-283-6160. We apologize if you heard some silence there for just a moment. Looks like a techniculty came our way. But
we're too busy arguing over sushi.
We have overcome the techniculty, and we are here. I do want to tell everybody that ForkFest 2023 is coming up. You can join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 15th through the 18th for the 7th annual ForkFest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out in 2022. This year, we're going back to where it all started, the weekend before PorkFest. So ForkFest is now the pre-funk for the Porcupine Freedom Festival. That's right. ForkFest is decentralized, which means there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 13th through the 18th. You can find out more at the unofficial website forkfest.party, where you can connect with other attendees. You can find links to the ForkFest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the ForkFest forum, all at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there. Again, forkfest.party. All right. No, being that I read that without any glasses on.
Good job. Should have committed to memory by now.
To do. Like, yeah, I basically guessed on most of the words because I've read it, 1,000 times or whatever it's been. All right, glasses are back on. Also, before we go on, I want to say thank you to Michael Lamayo. Michael Lamayo is a platinum-level amplifier. That means he gives $25 a month to help advertise, market, promote, and support Free Talk Live. That means that he enjoys the program. He enjoys the hosts, the co-hosts, the perspective of liberty, freedom, peace that we bring, the topics that we cover. And he thinks that it's a good use of his Liberty dollar to become an amplifier over at amps.freetalklive.com. You can join us too. Most of the money goes to getting us onto more radio stations. We're on, I think, 170-ish stations right now. We could be 200. We have been before. We could be 250. We could be 300. It's all up to you. Please visit amps.freetalklive.com. Thank you again, Michael Lamayo. We appreciate you. All right. When we last left our heroes, what were we talking about? Do you remember?
Property taxes and
that's right.
Theft and plunder and
this whole Massachusetts article about
and Reed Bastiat.
Yeah, Reed Bastiat.
Savages.
Yeah. Let's go to your calls and thoughts. First, we have Sarah in New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Oh, yes, you're welcome.
Yes, my wish is that I wish that we had a pedestrian safety coalition group of New Mexico. I wish we had an official group, and we don't.
I wish I was a little bit taller.
One. Why don't you start one, Sarah?
Here in Mexico, we got the MAD. It seems like they're pretty strong. We got a MAD chapter here. And then we got some kind of a bicyclist organization. I don't know what they do. They put up a lot of fines.
I'll tell you what they do. They run red lights. Way more than cars.
Sarah, you could probably start such a group, become the leader of such a group, gain sponsorship by your local city or state government, even county perhaps, and then you could derive a salary from the taxpayers by taking money from other people and getting it for yourself.
Sounds terrible.
Start a super PAC.
And then you could spend the rest of your life justifying the work that you do in order to maintain that relationship and keep getting everybody paid.
So it starts out like as like a not official group, and then they might wind up getting sponsors, and then somehow you could twist that around to making the state and the city give you money for your group. Is that, and then it becomes a salary? Is that how it works?
And then you become part of government.
You could call it the Pan MD, Pedestrians Against New Mexican Drivers.
That sounds good. Some kind of a jingo name.
Right. You're welcome. Trademark.
Yeah. Don't forget us in your will.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny because I've been calling during sessions, I've been calling the State House, and they've been picking up the phone, and they're taking my phone calls and name and all that stuff. And they're like, when I bring up the speed camera, they're like, "Are you with any organization?" It's like, I wish there was an organization. I don't belong to any kind of organization. You know.
So I don't know how easy it is there, Sarah, but it's fairly easy to start an organization here in New Hampshire. Right? You just file the appropriate paperwork and pay the appropriate funds, and boom, you're an organization.
I'm sure that's the same everywhere.
There might be some other.
They've got to have
More
forms
money,
just laying around. They are bureaucrats, aren't they?
Right. But you could start. You could start the organization, and then when you call your representative's office, right? Then you could say, "No, I'm with Pan MD," right? You steal it. I don't care if you take that one. You're Pan MD, right? And then the more important thing is you have to start making donations, right, to their campaign, for them to actually take notice of Pan MD. So when they start receiving donations to their reelection campaign from Pan MD.
And you mentioned that you're with Pan MD, they'll go, "Oh yeah,
Sarah, I remember you." Yes,
So you really start making headway.
Right.
Giving her ideas.
I mean, if you're going to play the game, that's how you play the game, right?
It's time for me to start it because nobody else wants to start it.
I know it's so difficult when other people don't do what you want them to do.
Yeah, most of the time, Sarah, people with, narcissistic or psychopathic personality traits are the ones who are generally attracted to working for and in and with government.
Well, I mean, that's a...
So if you want to, the door's open, I'm sure.
Well, this explains, okay, so we're number one in pedestrian fatality per capita, and at the same time, there's no pedestrian safety coalition at all in the state of New Mexico. I mean, that's a correlation,
Right.
So it's like...
So once your organization starts donating to the cause, right, then legislatures will start a committee for you, right, or you got to run for office yourself, right?
Yeah, that's what usually people do when they really want. I've seen people that lost a family. A whole carload of the family was killed by a drunk driver. So one of their family ran for office to change the law. He actually went for Senate or
there you go.
representative. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For that, but this was a guy going the wrong way on the freeway here in New Mexico.
So the formula is there. You just got to follow the formula.
So what would you say, once you've organized this coalition, Sarah, what is the purpose? What would you do? What would you say you do in this coalition?
Well, I would try to figure out ways. I mean, we have been trying to figure out ways. I mean, I definitely would like to put more speeding cameras. That bill is up in the House, HB 22. So that we'll be able to put speed cameras on US and
pedestrian bridge over every intersection.
Is that right,
every
Sarah?
intersection?
A pedestrian bridge over every intersection?
Sounds
Just
expensive.
a suggestion. Taxpayers pay for it. Who cares?
Yeah, whatever.
Once you get your pedestrian coalition up and running.
I mean, once they steal everybody's property,
yeah,
to pay for it.
plenty of money. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if that's any better, but the thing is, it's going to be a lot of work for me to. I thought about doing it, but me and Richard, we got our 2-man coalition. When they call, we got our. We know that we're calling and writing letters and calling in the radio station. We're doing our little thing, but I just it's going to take a lot of work because I wish that we were organized because we would have like a committee going up to Santa Fe. Maybe like 3 people all loaded up from Albuquerque go up to Santa Fe. Maybe we'll have some people that live in Santa Fe that will put us up for 2-3 nights just to speak up and then come back or something. But we don't have any kind of coalition, so it's very difficult.
I think the oddest thing about this call is everything you're saying your wish for, right? You can be your own genie, right? Like you can make all that happen with little to no help from anybody else.
And I mean, Richie gave you a pretty good start. I mean, he gave you a lot of good ideas.
Yeah, it's a first. But you know what? I really like working with New Mexicans against tobacco. We had a big anti-tobacco committee, and they were already.
No, I figured New Mexicans would love tobacco.
No, smokers are an easy target.
Yeah.
Smokers? Oh, they're railroaded out. I mean, but I got involved when they were trying to throw them out of restaurants.
Yeah.
And the only city that got thrown out was Las Cruz, a little town. They threw them out of restaurants back then. That was 20 years ago.
They lost the airplanes. They lost the restaurants.
Yeah, the hospitals.
Oh,
we got to draw a line somewhere.
Bars too. So, but it was easy because they had a committee.
This
but
is the
with
smoking section of the
pedestrian
Natal Ward.
thing, it's just like I'm just on my own. It feels like. I mean, I don't know many people. It's just so. You're right. I gotta get if I want to do all that sacrifice and work. I gotta do all that coalition, and I really don't know if I could do all that. So, but
No, I believe in you, Sarah. I'm sure you could.
I mean, you got the time, right? Just walk down to the city
Yeah,
office
but-
and start filling out forms.
No,
There's a
got
document
big
somewhere.
production calling the state reps. There's all 70 of them, and I looked it up on the internet, and so I know what their name is and their district and their thing, and then so that's the first step.
Well,
So
the
that
first step
they're
is
gonna
starting your
also-
organization so you can call and represent an organization.
Yeah. So you go ahead and get that
Yeah.
started, Sarah, and give us a call back. Let us know how the PanMD goes. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for the call.
But don't call until you do. Like, get that started and then let us know.
Yeah, certainly. Let us know how that goes. Moving right along, let's go to Rob in Vermont. Rob, you're on Free Talk Live.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I was just listening to that last caller there, and I'm just, okay. So anyways,
Great opinion.
you
Great
guys were
opinion.
talking about taxes and the police and stuff like that. And,
Yep.
And,
Yep, I hate both of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a way to be able to, for the people to be able to sort of fix that. And that is, just stop paying your taxes.
Well, okay.
Well, but then
hold on.
But then they do what they did to this guy. They come and they take your house.
Yeah, but I mean, there isn't enough people, like in the city of Keene. If everyone decided, you know what, we're not going to pay our taxes for the first 6 months, what are they going to do?
And it's
Bill
just,
you the
it's-
interest after that 6 months is up.
It would be a good idea, but just the unfortunate thing is the majority of the people, like let's take Keene, for example. The majority of the people that live here are total diehard statists.
And a
And
bunch
a lot
of
of
them are
them are
lefty, too, yeah.
liberals.
Yeah.
They love taxes. They think they're,
There's other ways to be able to, to raise money for different things and stuff. Like, for instance,
absolutely.
The Buffalo Bills football player, when he took that nasty hit and he was down, he had a fundraiser going on before he got that.
Which is weird because he's a millionaire.
But what I'm saying is that he wanted to raise up $2,500 so we could donate this money, for local kids for the Christmas.
Yeah, and he raised millions.
But when that guy took that hit and he ended up in the hospital, that went up to $6-7 million.
Yep.
And the people are the ones that donated that money.
Yeah, well, you have a good point, though. Like, everything that the government claims is necessary to do, build a bridge, right, some waterworks, right, that kind of thing, can all be done by GoFundMe.
Absolutely. And if it was really necessary, people would want to pay money. If the roads here are crap, I would gladly want to pay money to fix them.
Right. Or
But
businesses would come in and be like, roads are important in people getting to my business,
Yes.
so I will pitch in.
But you like those Massachusetts roads, don't you, Nikki?
No, I don't. I hate them.
Oh.
They're terrible. They're
something
worse
else
than they're worse than New Hampshire roads. Yeah, where's that tax money going? Mm-hmm. A little suspicious.
I could have sworn her social media post was claiming the contrary a couple of weeks ago.
No,
but-
it was about the amount of snow falling.
Okay.
That's what that was.
All right, so let
I
me
wouldn't hold
add-
her to her social media post.
Oh, okay.
Add something else to this equation. I don't want to lose my train of thought here, but if people
bring up the caboose then,
depending on
Rob.
which state that you live in, you can look up and see what all of your politicians and lawyers and judges and public, you can see what all of their pensions are each year, and it's hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and each year they cry about they don't make enough money, and they force people to get more tax revenue so those pensions can go up. But even so, how many of those people that collect those pensions, how many of them actually truly earned it?
Yeah, zero.
Well, yeah, if they're bureaucrats,
You know?
the answer is zero.
I think that if you're going to have a pension like that, it only lasts as long as how long you worked at that business or whatever. I don't know.
I mean, voluntary pension's okay. right?
Yeah, that's
if you,
what I
if you
mean.
can find a
Voluntary
company that
pension.
is large enough where they offer a pension and it's sustainable.
Yeah, why do I have to pay for it?
Right, exactly.
Anything else, Rob?
That's it. I spouted off enough.
Hey, thanks for the call, man. We appreciate you. 603-283-6160. There might be time to get you in.
I also, spoiler alert, the roads aren't any better in Vermont either. They suck everywhere.
I mean, they do. They really do. Even in places where there's a lot of money, like I lived in Seattle. Seattle roads suck. I mean, they're a bit more complicated than other places because everything is a bridge, quite literally. Everything in the Seattle area is a bridge. But still, the roads suck, potholes, and it's crazy.
It's funny, right? Because everyone always talks about the roads. Well, if we don't have taxes, who's going to take care of the roads? And then on the other hand, everyone always complains about the road. No matter where you go, no matter where you live, if you're on the coast, if you're up north, everyone's always complaining about the roads. The roads suck. There's all these potholes. Okay, well, clearly the people we're paying to maintain the roads aren't doing a very good job. So why do they need to rob us and steal our money to pay for the roads that they can't maintain? Yep. I'd rather pay money out of my own pocket.
Yep.
Well,
I mean, I guess I am, but you know what I mean? Like,
the
I'd
sad
rather.
truth is because we let them, right?
Right.
I guess so, but I'd rather that than go to jail.
Need of it. Yeah. It's because
You know what I mean?
the people, quote unquote, right, whatever that means
The
to you.
people don't wanna go to jail.
The people. Well, the
They're
people
afraid.
don't realize. Right, they're afraid. They don't realize that there are way more of us than there are of them.
Yeah.
And it's like that picture where it shows the politicians and they're all sitting around a table having a cigar or whatever, and they're on the bent over backs of a large quantity of people.
Right. Yeah.
And all the people need to do is just start standing up for themselves,
Mhm.
start standing up for their neighbors.
It's like a bug's life.
Yeah.
Right. So, but here's the thing, and again, it's the topic that doesn't like to get talked about here. Right. For the people to stand up, there's going to be either violence
Yeah.
or the posturing of violence. Right? How do you stand up against the almighty federal government or local or state government who has the guns and the legal authority to harm you?
And that's the whole bit about just don't pay taxes. Well, it would be nice if you actually controlled the trigger on paying your taxes.
Right.
But most of us don't. It's taken anyway. It's taken out of your check automatically by your employer. It's taken out of your mortgage payment when you get the loan from the bank to buy your property. It's just built into everything you do.
It's also just step one, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right? You don't pay your taxes. They go through the legal channels to put a lien on your property. Then they send the guys with the guns to take your property.
Right.
And then what do you do then? Right?
That's a good question, and I don't know the
Are
answer.
you prepared
I know
to
that,
do what it takes to
I know
maintain your property?
I mean, can you even do what it takes?
if you have
How
enough
many
people.
men do you have? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They did it at the Bundy Ranch.
In the olden days, right? Little House on the Prairie type days, the Old West type days.
Yep.
When this type of thing would occur, and then the people would show up to repossess said property, the community would just show up and prevent that from happening.
Right.
Yeah, not here, not now.
So there have been methods. I, of course, prefer the nonviolent way. I prefer that we build better systems that outpace and outdo the current systems. And that is my preference for how this evolution should take place.
But even the freedom community here, right, is not going to stand up, to protect a tax protester from losing their property.
I mean, they
There
can
have
try.
been some of that. There has been some of that, specifically here in New Hampshire. Jason Gearhart, look up his story.
Okay.
And what he spent time in prison
He's
for.
a state rep now.
No, understood.
state rep now.
But he protested against the taking,
right?
But he ended up in prison,
right?
Yeah.
And they took.
And they took.
Like, they didn't take it, right away. Like, the protest
That's what I'm
worked and
saying.
sort of delayed it all from happening for a while.
Where was the
But
community standing
eventually-
out front going like, we are not going to allow you to take this?
I mean, they tried.
Yeah.
I mean, people were there.
I
He
think-
wasn't the only one. Like,
I get
people
it.
tried.
I get it.
And that's my point of why I'm like, I would love to not pay taxes, but I don't want to go to jail.
But you see
And that's
the
what it
meme
is right
online,
now.
with the whole stove thing that happened in the banning of. Like, you're really gonna, you're gonna die over a stove, and the meme is like, well, someone's going to.
Yeah.
Right. That's the attitude.
I think a
Like,
version.
Yes, I'm drawing my line here.
Yeah.
And we're gonna fight.
I think a version of that, of course, is the secession movement.
Okay.
Right? NHexit.com.us. I don't remember
Whatever.
which one it is. There is a secession movement here in New Hampshire.
That'd be pretty ironic if it was .us.
Right? Yeah. But I think there is one. I think there is one that's
Is there?
.us. Yeah, I'm not sure about that though. Don't quote me.
So the secession movement works theoretically.
Yeah.
Right. The federal government goes, nope, not letting you go. Right. What are you gonna do? Oh no, we tried, we failed, but they're gonna come in with tanks.
There's going to be a war. Yeah.
So I think the thing about
There has to be.
secession is much like the Declaration of Independence. That wasn't necessarily a question.
No,
New Hampshire getting together and voting to remove themselves from the union known as the United States is a declaration, not a question.
But the Declaration of Independence was then backed by an actual war to enforce it. And that's what the freedom movement won't do, despite posturing by a bunch of the
We've
gunnies.
got just a couple of minutes. Unscreened caller, what's your name, please?
My name's Andrew.
Andrew, where are you calling from?
Tennessee.
What's on your mind?
So I was curious because in my town they're talking about using a lot of money to build a convention center, and I was curious to see what the population, like the age groups of people, and I stumbled upon the U.S. Census website, and the way they had it categorized for the city and county I was in, but it looked like it's across the board. But they have it under 5, under 18 years old, above 65 years old, and then females. And so it was really hard to actually figure out what the demographic of the county was.
Okay.
And I didn't know if you guys had.
The census
it just seemed like a really odd way to categorize.
It sounds like they're categorizing people for war. Like, are you over 65? Are you under 18? Are you a woman?
Having used the census website, it's tricky, and they've dumbed down the way to get the data. So,
but but there was no. I couldn't. But I still don't know what the demographic is.
I understand, and what I'm suggesting is dig deeper on the website because it's there. You may need to download the raw data and parse through it yourself. It's there.
Well, it's so hard to search things nowadays because I feel like every time I search stuff, I go to. I don't know. I feel like I can't actually get to what I'm actually looking
because
for.
Government is not a private entity where they have to satisfy their customers. It's that
may be true, but I can tell you how many mobile homes are in a certain county in New Hampshire. Because
I just thought it was really odd because they had age and sex, and the way they categorized it was under 5 years old, under 18 years old, over 65 years old, and then female.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I'm suggesting is the raw data for that intermediary stage is there somewhere.
Hey,
why would they?
No, thank you for the call. We are out of time, unfortunately. Try us again tomorrow between 7 and 10 p.m. Or 7 days a week. If you missed any part of the show, please catch the archives over at freetalklive.com. Thank you, Richie Rich. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you to all our callers. And peace.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special